Luka Doncic will play on that sprained left ankle, but Kristaps Porzingis, who has been awesome in this series, a late scratch with that persistent right knee soreness.
And that also makes Ivica Zubats have a much easier job out there. That was a big difference that we saw in game one when Porzingis was an early ejection, is that it just made it easier to defend the Mavericks. And Luka, while he is playing, he will definitely be affected by that sprained ankle.
Yeah, we'll watch very early to see how he's moving. He did warm up. An MRI showed no damage. And yeah, I mean, the big strategic element in game 3, there were many, as we will talk to throughout this cast, with Trey Burke getting the start for Porzingis, was avoiding getting Zubac guarding Porzingis. Now that's no longer an issue. Leonard sets up Marcus Morris for the game-opening triple that misses. And we'll get our first look at how Doncic is going here. He's guarded by Morris, who has had the primary matchup on him in this series. They want to get Trey Burke attacking Paul George. Burke right to the rim, causing the miscommunication between Leonard and George.
And
Leonard
no
really
one,
probably should have switched onto him there. The whole point of having those guys guarding Maxi Kleber, who's now going to be the main screen setter, is so you can switch actions like that. George, deep. He's struggled shooting famously in this series. Has the matchup on Hardaway. Gets easy space. He definitely tried to slow it down that time, you could see, knowing he had the size advantage on Hardaway. That's a good look for him. Doncic engaging. Oh, beautiful pass backdoor to Kleba, but the help from Morris was just enough to force a miss. Shamet, who ascended to the starting lineup in game 3, finding Zubac underneath, stopped once by Finney Smith, going up again, and Finney Smith got him once more. Made him look like Charles Smith on that play. Now Hardaway has the matchup on Zubac in transition. He'll take the 3 over him, and I'd like to see him get a little bit better of a look there. Driving kick, set something else better for your teammates. Now Zubac ducking in on Hardaway, and we see this so often, including yesterday's game. The big man challenges the shot on the switch, goes right down and posts up on that smaller player.
yeah, it's a great way to take advantage of the situation. And they weren't going to probably do much on the rest of that defensive possession anyway.
Now Doncic can't get back on Leonard, who dunks on Kleber. Kawhi wanted a foul call, near a technical there with his response to the referee, but 4-2 Clippers lead. Now Doncic. He steps back. Oh, that's not good from the Clippers. And what they are doing there, you see George look at Zubac. This is something they did a lot in game 3. They were having Zubac late switch onto Doncic, and then anytime they could, they would have whoever the nearest guard was switch onto Doncic off of Zubac and have Zubac take the guy next to him. George tried to do it that time, but Zubac didn't move over to the corner 3. Missed 3 from George again, who continues to struggle. Doncic wanted the foul call, did not get it, and will stay. No, we're going to go back down the other way, it looks like.
No, like that's one of those circumstances in the last 2 minutes that it might go. No, I guess because he was fouled, but it ended up, I think, being off of Doncic.
Yeah, well, he at least wanted the foul call.
Yeah.
Screen away here for Shamet, who we talked about how Landry Shamet has helped here in the starting lineup a little bit on the pod. But Danny, is there a reason you think that he was a better fit in this starting group than Reggie Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need somebody who wants the ball in their hands all the time. Shamet is a more reliable shooter, and I think he's a better defender as well.
Leonard off the Zubac screen. Finney Smith gets through it. Now he gets to that nice mid-ranger, and Kawhi Leonard has looked to me like the best player in the NBA playoffs so far in this series.
Yeah, he was phenomenal on Friday in Game 3 in particular.
Now Doncic does draw that kind of BS foul. You see that it's Zubac being guarded by Finney Smith, who's not a devastating roll man the way some of their other guys are. And so that has enabled Zubac to play more of that center field role defensively.
Yeah, he talked about that after Game 3, that it opened things up, made life easier for him defensively.
Yeah, then Doncic, a miscommunication between Kleba and Finney Smith. They were trying to run a flare for, I think, Kleba on that play, but he dove to the hoop instead, and Luka threw the pass anticipating that Kleba would be there. Good pressure from Burke against Shamet, who did play more of a point guard role when he was in college. Leonard engaging Kleba, who is not guarding him so far. I think that's actually a good advantage for the Clippers. Morris missing the tough runner, not a great shot for him. Finney Smith, who's really improved his skill level since he entered the league out of Florida. Doncic into the lane. Nice no look. He fooled Leonard with that, but Kleba couldn't convert.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of good looks so far that haven't gone down that could be a part of a game four, especially these teams going every other day. I think they could a little bit of accumulation.
So back to the idea of Shamet in the starting lineup. I think the concern for Doc Rivers had been that he just needs more ball handling, someone to get them into their offense. That puts too much pressure on George and Leonard to handle the ball. But once you get into the half court, as Shamet with a beautiful cut there, and his off-ball movement has been key as well to help out their half-court offense. Once you get into the half court, the ball is going to be in Leonard and George's hands anyway, as Doncic goes for the mid-ranger. I think that's a shot he needs to work on more. Here's George with the three. Finally, Paul George stepping back. Most difficult shot of the night, but he makes it. But I like Shamet in the half court, as I was saying, because he can run off the ball for screens. He spaces the floor better than anyone else on the team. And he can still handle the ball enough to bring it up on occasion. Doncic attacking on Zubac. He looked really good there. That was going from right to left, although he is limping a little bit after that play. Maybe he came down a little bit on the ankle. Now Finney Smith knocks it away from Leonard, who is too casual sealing in the post, but now he has the advantage matchup on Hardaway. Along the baseline, Shamet. There's that shot for him. Rims out, but Leonard for the rebound. Alley-oop. Zubac is there. And the least exciting dunker in the NBA puts it down.
Yeah, but that was a nice job of Shamet being in the right spot in that corner, Kawhi finding him. And it was the right look, even though it didn't go down, then makes the pass to Zubac for the unexciting alley-oop dunk.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can get an offensive rebound, even if you miss that three, because the defense is scrambled. Hardaway, he's good for a couple of those bad jumpers off the dribble every game. But excellent work by Kleba. I think the other thing to talk about here is not having Porzingis, how that changes the matchups for the Mavs defensively as we get into our first stoppage.
It changes they have less stout rim protection around the basket. The help defense is going to be more limited, and it just slides guys around. Kleba has been the best guy, in my opinion, on the Mavericks on Kawhi Leonard, and so if he's on Kawhi, then you're going to need somebody else underneath the rim.
Yeah, and so that makes them too small. Kleba is really their only good help defender with this group. So now what they've done is they put Finney Smith on Kawhi. Now Hardaway has to guard Paul George, and really everyone in terms of their individual matchups is a little bit worse. And Porzingis in game 2 in particular caused some problems at the rim for the Clippers. We don't have that option now either.
Okay, we could take some of your questions. We don't have a ton of questions right now, but you could keep asking them, or theoretically you can ask using the hashtag NBAcast on Twitter, whatever makes you happy. We're checking all Periscope, Twitch, YouTube. We're checking all of them. Glenn Simonson, Brett Brown's future. I think he's gone. The basic rule to follow is that when a team is disappointing, especially, so you can think owner on down, somebody's going to have to call for that. That could be the general manager getting fired. That could be the coach getting fired. That could be personnel changes. And when you think about it from the perspective of Elton Brand, if they're not going to fire Elton Brand, he did the finishing touches on this roster, and a lot of the players that he didn't bring in are pretty well set. Then beyond that, you run into the issue of Elton Brand being there, and they can't really change this roster much. So if ownership demands a changeover, Brett Brown is really the only piece of that. And so that seems like a logical one. And also, I think it's a proper move. We got asked about that yesterday. And to me, if a coach isn't clearly in the top 10, top 15, probably best to move on and take another bite at the apple. From Captain Marvelous, if the Celtics don't make it out of the second round this year, was it a success since they didn't make it further than last year? I don't think that's how they define it. I mean, to me, the Celtics, getting some development from the youth players, Jason Tatum in particular, becoming a star. It isn't necessarily
Jaylen
about
Brown too. I mean, they had a ton of guys who took big steps forward this year.
Right. So I think this year is unambiguously a success, irrespective of what happens in the series, presumptively against the Raptors. So no, I don't think it's tied, and I think it's dangerous to tie it to playoff success. And a good example of that the other way, like if you're thinking about it from like an ownership GM perspective, is like what happened to Portland. That Portland, they made it to the conference finals. So yeah, they made it really far in the playoffs, but they beat like kind of two favorable matchups and were on the side of the bracket that had three of the four best teams in the Western Conference were on the other side of it. So like that's a very different conversation than it would have been. So I think turnabout is fair play in that respect.
Why does Nate get such a bigger window? Doesn't seem equitable. I have the bookies.com backdrop, baby. That's why I get the bigger window. But we're gonna get to any one of those, and then we can equalize it.
I also think your camera's further back, so I think it kind of makes sense anyway. We're about the same size in the frame most of the time now.
All right, we're back here. Doncic inbounding, fakes the deep three into the mid-range against Zubac. So watch and see if someone comes over here. They get Hardaway out of that corner. Doncic stepping back, and I mean that's absolutely something the Clippers will live with, is that Doncic step back until he starts making it. Now he's actually trying to pressure up on Morris. Doesn't seem like the best use of his energy necessarily. Kawhi is they're going to screen away for George here. Good job by Hardaway taking that away. Now they want to get it back to George. Zubac, good job by Hardaway again, making him not use the screen, but he gets into the mid-range and misses it. Good possession there from Tim Hardaway. He executed the defense perfectly. Now here's Trey Burke in transition. Doncic attacking on Leonard. Back to Finney-Smith. His drive on Morris. Tough finish, misses.
Yeah, and good job by Morris moving Finney-Smith's body enough to make him uncomfortable. And that was, wow, they didn't call that reach. That looked like a bad reach on Kawhi.
Yeah, the pass and crash that time, and didn't see what the actual call was. Looks like that was not called at all, and Zubac got fouled underneath. And Ivica Zubac, there's a lot of interesting things that they can do with his minutes. If I'm Doc Rivers, I would try to match him up more with Doncic. Now, of course, Porzingis, I was going to say that when Porzingis is in, without Doncic, they should get Zubac off the floor in those situations because there's really no one for him to guard other than Porzingis in those situations. But now, I think he really causes problems for Doncic in pick and roll at the rim, and we have not seen Luka able to finish around him other than that one nice lefty layup in this series. So when it's Harrell out there, Doncic has the confidence to get to the basket and finish against him. Let's see what they're going to dial up here. Hardaway going to screen to get Shamet involved. They don't switch it. Oh, what a backdoor. That's beautiful. Nice. And Paul George with Seth Curry on the backside did not get there in time for the help on the backdoor. But that's a great pass from Luka. Now MKG guarding Kawhi Leonard. Shamet on the drive. He just gives you some quick decision making, which Reggie Jackson doesn't necessarily give you. George creates the space on Seth Curry and drops in a second jumper.
And that was a form of a ball rack. I thought that Paul George could have gotten a little bit closer, but he didn't feel Curry there and just takes the jump shot over him.
There's Hardaway on the pick and pop. They sent a little flare screen for him. Clippers have dominated so far. Leonard engaging Kleba, pulling up over him. Tough fader. Nice board by Luka. He is so good on the defensive glass. Now Luka driving, setting up Curry, eluding George. Right baseline, goes down for two.
And the threat of the jump shot there, George was a little bit, he was shaded towards Luka. That means that he has to jump on it, which gives Curry the ability to get in and get a cleaner look.
Force George towards the baseline again. Hardaway's right on his butt. George tries to draw the foul and does so.
And so Paul George in the early going, 2 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3 for 5 points.
This is a hilarious question on YouTube. What power forward or center should Elton Brand target to replace Josh Richardson? That's funny. George hitting the first free throw. Go ahead. Sorry, Danny.
I was going to say Carl Landry is probably available. I was trying to think, like, who is the most Elton Brandy of players that are currently in the NBA? Also, that's disrespect to Elton Brand to compare him to Carl Landry.
I agree. So one thing I've liked from Paul George is Harrell has come in now to replace Zubats. Is that he's playing a little bit slower. I think he's just trying to get to his spots, use his size advantage, not rush anything, just have confidence that he can get the shot off. And it helps that he has a little easier matchup in this game against Hardaway. George, and he holds Curry off the ball. Yeah, sometimes I hope it's not too confusing. A lot of times I'll call out the names of defensive players because that they're guarding the guy that the play is being run for. I try to focus in on them. Hopefully it's something you can start to get the rhythm of here. I just do it naturally because I'm just stream of consciousness, whatever I happen to be looking at. But that's what I'm talking about. When I say someone's name who's on defense, I'm trying to draw your attention there because that's where the action is happening. Boban sets the screen. They do not switch that with Harrell. Luka into the lane, and you can see, I know he missed that, but he's more confident getting in the lane and shooting when Harrell is out there. Now Morris gets past Burke, Reggie Jackson loading up and hits.
Yeah, and that type of shot, Reggie Jackson, more of a catch and shoot, feet stable. I feel more comfortable with him doing that. And I still don't completely understand this lineup now where they have Reggie Jackson and Lou Williams together with Kawhi Leonard on the floor. So you don't need both of those guys for offense. And obviously they are very combustible defensively.
Yeah, I think there's still a desire to continue playing everyone if you're Doc. He also said something interesting in the pregame. And by the way, to be clear, I thought Doc Rivers had excellent adjustments for Game 3. Jovan Buha wrote a really nice piece categorizing all those for The Athletic in terms of his rotations, in terms of their communication off the ball, defensively, the way that they were scramming out Zubac when he would get stuck on Doncic on the perimeter. Really outstanding overall communication and adjustments and execution from the Clippers by that Game 3. But what he said actually before this game was, yes, he's a little concerned about Reggie and Lou Williams together defensively, but he's more concerned about having Shamet with one of those two guys, which I was surprised to hear, but Shamet certainly got cooked in Game 2 in individual defense as well.
Something you won't be surprised to hear is us talking about Boogies.com. Boogies.com is a great partner for us because it is the combination of it is about information. And I talked about this yesterday, but we had another great example of this. Mark Stroutman picks the Sixers to cover on the Celtics, and they did. I mean, it happened in that pretty amazing way with the Joel Embiid, Chris Paul stop, but it all counts. There was a 6.5 spread, and the Sixers to cover that. The final margin was 4. And really, Boogies.com, it's about learning and earning, and you can go to bookies.com/NBA or follow them on Twitter to check out their great information.
Yeah, that's at Bookies on Twitter. And yeah, we don't do a lot of betting, but if you hear us say something, just take a look at bookies.com, see if there's anything based on what we're saying, if you want to believe us, of course. But if you listen to us about the Utah-Denver series, you maybe could have made some money. But take a look at bookies.com every once in a while, see if there are any interesting opportunities there for you. Let's do a question here before we return.
Sure. From Glenn Simonson, you guys have hinted in the past that Reggie Jackson's minutes were promised. Doesn't Doc Rivers have the reputation not to follow through if he so desires? It has to be his choice. I think it's mostly Doc's choice, but Doc is also somebody who, has a reputation as a player's coach. And also that promise partially, if not fully, probably came from Lawrence Frank, not from Doc Rivers. So I think you just kind of want to do right. This is a series that the Clippers, I think they feel comfortable that they're going to win. So you kind of can make guys happy. You're not changing your win probability that much. So I think that it is, at this point, it tilts that way. But once they start to play somebody who's more dangerous, like the Lakers, if Reggie Jackson's still on the floor, then we'll have a different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be their next series either, frankly.
Probably not.
That's going to be a problem. And even against the Lakers, like, you could probably get away with Reggie Jackson because the Lakers' backup unit isn't going to really abuse him when LeBron is off the floor. But,
fair point.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't know whether anything was promised or not. Reggie definitely can get a little surly when he's not playing, though.
That he can. Oh, we can do this one quickly from Horgan's Pub. If you could advise Luka to work on one specific part of his game this fall, what would you say? And I'd love to see him become a more reliable 3-point shooter. I think, the shiftiness and a lot of the other stuff is really good. If his 3-point shot was a little bit more reliable, it'd make a world of difference.
Yeah, I didn't see what happened here to cause this technical free throw. We can confirm that in a second. But for me to answer that question, it would be more about just shooting a quick pull-up jump shot off the dribble, not like to have that mid-range from the foul line against, say, an Ivica Zubac, for example, or against a drop coverage. There's a post-up by MKG on Lou Williams. Nice little ATO there, knowing that Lou Williams was going to be guarding him because he's not as much of a shooting threat, and they get foul shots for MKG. But like just another way to really abuse that drop coverage when you have someone like Zubac where he can't get all the way to the rim as easily, to just say, all right, I'm going to take the three off the pick and roll, open that way, as opposed to having to get to the step back.
Yeah, that's totally fair. It's very analogous to Giannis and Ben Simmons and a few other players. Instead of focusing as much on the three, get that pull up too. And yeah, that's totally fair. I just think with the way Luka wants to shoot threes, it'd be great if he was a little bit more reliable on them. But you're right. That's totally sound one too.
Apparently that tech was on Luka. Now it's MKG guarding Kawhi in the post. Boban coming over to help. Kawhi just goes right around him. That sets up Jackson for a three, and he drains it.
Yeah, second feet set, catch and shoot three for Reggie Jackson, drills both of them.
Yeah, I would not want to have Boban coming over outside the lane to double team because Leonard can just go right past him, the way Michael Jordan used to do when a big would come over and double. Now Boban posting up deep, but Jackson did well to fight around. Now Harrell beat Luka down the floor, lays it in, nice play. Montrezl Harrell, we're seeing more and more of the effort plays that used to characterize his game as he gets back into shape. Now Boban, they better send some help here. He's going to just put Morris in the goal, and they do not send help, and he scores.
Yeah, and you could force Boban to make a read as a passer. It's not. I mean, he can do it, but it's not a strength in his game.
Yeah, it's interesting that Harrell has actually struggled a little bit against Boban, but I think once he gets a little bit healthier, he'll be able to abuse that matchup with his quickness. So they switch this. Boban posting up deep again. He's got a soft touch on that hook shot, and it's twice now he's scored over Morris.
But what has to concern the Mavericks is that this is an 11-point margin, and Luka hasn't sat yet.
Lou Williams switched onto by Curry. Now he'll screen for Kawhi. Good job not allowing the Clippers to gain any advantage. Now Kawhi, first step against MKG, steps back. Missed it, in and out.
And a nice job by MKG of staying largely in position there. He did get moved, but he also made a real contest.
Now Luka has Morris on his back. Curry on the drive. Blows past Lou Williams. Not good enough there from Lou Williams. There's no reason for Lou Williams to be off of Seth Curry in that situation on the strong side.
Helping without helping. So let's get to some of your questions.
This is one from Sam R. I think we can spend a lot of time on this one. How much should Porzingis' constant minor leg problems, in addition to the major one he had, be factored in evaluating the Knicks' willingness to trade him? And yes, it is definitely looking wrong so far that the Knicks traded him because, number one, we thought they were going to use the cap space that would be opened up by him leaving. They were not able to do that. We thought they knew something when they made that trade. That wasn't the case. But they also, at that point in time, Porzingis hadn't come back and hadn't played. I would say that what he has done so far for Dallas, despite the fact that he's had these knee problems, is above what you could have expected from a health situation. Because as Sam points out, he had a lot of issues even before this, the torn ACL. And so there's a lot of concern about whether he could stay healthy. And I'm sure that there frankly still is. And that he has this persistent right knee issue. Now, this is a playoff game that he's not able to play. That's really a problem. We're seeing him actually walking around. Yeah, that was him warming up there. You could see him sort of shaking his head a little bit. They're not showing it. They're showing this like Luka Trez thing, but he was just sort of walking around like shaking his head, presumably in the midst of that warm up that convinced him that he couldn't go. But so that story is yet to be written. Also, Luka having this crazy ascendance, so those draft picks that they got aren't as good. So, yeah, certainly it's not looking as good for the Knicks, but it's also worth remembering what the information was that was available there. MKG, oh, I don't like that call. I thought he had landed before the contact took place. Let's see it again. Nope, no, that's a good call.
He wasn't quite stable yet. So yeah, I think that's the correct call.
Yeah,
But
well, particularly as the league has been directed to call it.
Yeah, and no one is more attuned to the way that rule is officiated than one Lou Williams.
So I think your biggest concern right now for Dallas is they are not getting that easy offense that characterized really most of the first 3 games.
Yeah, I mean Dallas, they have gotten 7 shots in the restricted area, but some of them have been contested, and they haven't gotten to the free throw line really at all.
And another thing to consider too is if they go down 3-1, I don't know if they're going to try Porzingis, and maybe even Luka, you would say, would just sit out the last game because they're not going to win the series 3-1 without any more home games in there either. Although Luka's going to get some free throws here, but Luka's still not moving amazingly, and he hasn't been quite the same force so far. And Porzingis with this knee issue, which is really a bummer too, because this series was looking like it was going to be really awesome, and the Clippers responded with some great adjustments. Couldn't wait to see what the Mavs were going to do in Game 4. And then Luka got injured, and now Porzingis not being able to play, and it's really a bummer.
It is, and these are. I brought up that the Mavericks weren't getting to the line. These are the 3rd and 4th free throws for the Mavericks in this game. 1 and 2 was that MKG post up on Lou Williams. So these are the first ones within half court offense in an entire quarter.
Luka hitting that second free throw to drop it to a 10-point Clips advantage. The lineup now is JaMychal Green at the 4, Harrell at the 5, with Kawhi, Williams, and Reggie Jackson around them. Williams missing that 3, going to his preferred left side. Luka attacking Harrell, and there you see that's a huge difference between Zubac and Harrell. Luka can slow him down. The difference is when Luka slows down like that, it's really hard for the big man to jump. But Zubac has such a big standing reach, it doesn't matter as much if he can't jump, whereas Harrell, he's reliant on getting off the ground to contest shots. Reggie Jackson with the mid-ranger. Not a great shot. You'll live with that, right, if you're the Dallas defense?
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten into rhythm with those 2 3-pointers, but Jackson, if he takes too many more of those, it'll be a problem. Oh, what a pass.
Yeah, now it's starting to look good for Dallas, although that is MKG in the corner, but Boban putting in his 5th and 6th points of the game. And what they did there was they set the early screen to get Jackson on to Luka. They don't have the personnel to switch everything the way they can with Leonard and George in the game. And then Luka going at a Reggie Jackson, Montrezl Harrell pick-and-roll defense combination is something that Dallas likes. Here's Burke running the floor. Oh, Seth Curry fanned out to the right. He missed him, but now Burke will take the 3. That's off, and we'll go back the other way. Leonard is ahead of the field. He can attack Luka here, but he slows up. They want to get the last shot. Oh, but they foul him instead. Is that 2 on Luka here?
No, that's his first.
Okay.
And Luka has played this entire first quarter so far.
Yeah, that's normally the case for him, usually the rotation. And, yeah, I mean, Luka, you could tell that left ankle with him grimacing when he has to slow down. It's so – one of the things about him as an athlete, he doesn't look like that conventional great athlete, but his stop and start is really impressive. And so the slowdown there, if you have a bad left ankle, when you try to stop all your momentum stepping onto that left foot and then taking off from that left foot, that's going to be pretty painful. Zubac back now for defense with the Mavs sizing up the last shot of the quarter. And it seems like everything's going according to plan so far for the Clippers in this one.
Yeah, and it's good. There's going to be a lot on Trey Burke at the beginning of the second quarter to see if they can keep the Dallas offense in line, because if they can, then maybe this stays more competitive. But if it becomes a 15, 16-point lead while Luka sits, that's going to be a big problem.
Kawhi matched up against Luka. I imagine they're going to probably try and involve a guard here. No, he just wants to take him. Double team coming from Shamet. Luka has to loop the pass, flare screen. That's MKG in the corner. That's not exactly who you want taking that shot. And I question, Danny, having MKG in the left corner. Usually you want your best shooter in the opposite corner because that's where the help comes from on the pick and roll. And they've had MKG there a couple of times, but they're willing to leave
you know
him.
what else I want to question? That was an offense-only possession. Why was he even on the floor?
Great point.
So let's go over some of the big picture stats from that first quarter. Clippers 131 offensive rating, 65.5 true shooting, and they barely turned the ball over. 2 turnovers on 26 possessions. Mavericks 92.3 offensive rating, 49% true shooting, and still not many turnovers, but not nearly as strong there. Leading scorer for either team is Paul George and it's Reggie Jackson with 8. Yeah, he had the 2 threes and a 2. And we can get to some of your questions. From Guy Wardrop, try to quantify the impact of coaching. How many games would you predict Philly to win if Nick Nurse had been their coach? Well, so the groceries for this Sixers team, especially if you consider the Ben Simmons injury, the groceries were rough. But if you theoretically gave Nick Nurse the whole season, I think they could have defended differently. Maybe the players could have bought in. They would have tried more stuff. They would have been more experimental. Maybe you could have gotten more out of Joel Embiid. So if we're saying you just threw him in for the series, I think they still get swept. Maybe they get one game. If you give Nick Nurse the whole season, then first of all, they're not going to be the 6th seed. I think they would have been a better seed than that, even with some of their health stuff. But if it's just you throw them in and you throw the series, I think they probably win 1 or 2. But the Celtics are still really good. From Robin Jeffrey, how has MKG been so far in the series? I think he's been fine. He did have those 2 big 3-pointers. I believe that was in game 1, which was a little bit stunning. It might have been game 2. But he's been, stable defensively. And so I would say, like a small net negative, but not nearly as big as I would have suspected before considering the Clippers. From IJ03, in a vacuum, is it easier to build a championship team around Rudy Gobert as opposed to Nikola Jokic? And yes, I would say that that's true. It can be hard to have an offensively limited guy, and Gobert is more. I think his offensive game doesn't get enough a credit, and not the screen assist. Everybody talks about that, but just like he's a talented role man, he can do something there. But with Jokic, the thing Nate and I talked about this a little bit actually in the not yet released, but except for Dunked on Prime people, we already broke down. Or actually, no, that was just the single release for Nuggets Jazz game 3. Was I don't think you can build a championship caliber defense with Nikola Jokic as your center. So then, yeah, that would answer it in the affirmative. Any questions that are speaking to you, Nate?
Sorry.
Yeah. I'll do this one quickly. From Periscope, from Cockblock8. Cokeblock, I guess technically. Can you trade a restricted free agent before they have an offer sheet? No. Once a player is a pending free agent, the only way you can trade them is via sign and trade. You can't trade their rights. You have to do that before the trade deadline that season. So no, you can't. So I'm trying to think of a good example. I'd say like Juancho Hernangomez. Let's say the Wolves don't want him. They cannot trade his match rights to somebody else. That other team can sign him or something else, or they can do a sign and trade, but not that.
All right, we're back here, and JJ Barea getting his first meaningful tick of the series. Tries to nash along the baseline. Oh, and Zubac with the block on Justin Jackson. Did Barea step out of bounds?
Yeah, he did. I think his right foot hit out of bounds.
Curry has done a pretty decent job on Lou Williams in this series. Kleba is back to play center with this group. Finney-Smith, Jackson, and Barea complete the 5 for Dallas. Williams open going to his left. They just ran that play earlier, and this time Lou Williams hits the 3 to push it to a 13-point advantage. George is back for the Clippers. He's guarding Curry, who's had a good run against him early. Now George, oh, what a play from behind. He knocks it away. They push it ahead. Williams, alley-oop, Green lays it in. What a fast break.
And I brought up that this was going to be a big time for Trey Burke because he's starting. Trey Burke is not even in right now. It's JJ Barea that's running the offense.
Barea came off a torn Achilles last year to return with Dallas. I mean, I know Finney Smith hit that, but you'll take that if you're the Clippers. Absolutely. Finney Smith, jab step 3 against your center. Go for it, man. Williams looking for George. Now George screens away. Snaking the pick and roll. Lou gets to that left elbow, and Lou Williams is starting to heat up here. 2 buckets and an assist on the last 3 possessions. Finney Smith run off the 3-point line. Barea draws the foul on Jackson. I mean, and that's just another one of those kind of BS plays, man. Like I just these throwing up a shot on one of those situations just to get the foul 20 feet from the basket. I just really wish that there was a way to get that out of the game. I'm not sure if there is, but I don't really enjoy it.
Yeah, and some of it I think can be fixed, but some of it is going to continue to be a problem.
Because like he's gotten past Jackson, right? Like use your advantage instead of trying to draw a foul and make the referee blow their whistle. Lou Williams, same play they just ran it again, but this time he'll drive right to the rim against Curry, and Lou Williams cannot be stopped right now. They're going to try and attack him on the other end with Barea, switched onto nicely by George, who's been good defensively in this stint.
Yeah, much more engaged.
Here's Kleber on the drive past Zubac, and Zubac couldn't quite get into position that time. And I think his problem was he just stuck a little bit too closely to Barea, and that's a scouting report one. Barea may not have been at the top of the scouting report with him being out of the rotation, but what happened there was Zubac called out a late switch. You saw him point, and he was thinking George would get back in front of Kleber. George was trying to just fight around conventionally. They're actually having a conversation about that right now along the free throw line. So that's why Zubac was so far over. He was actually picking up Barea and calling out the switch. Hardaway is back on the floor. This is a good sub here. They need a little bit more offensive juice with this group. Williams blowing past him again. Tried to leave it for Zubac. Now Zubac on the glass, and he'll put it in against Kleber.
And these minutes, so overall for the Clippers, starting to really put together an advantage, and that's exactly what the Mavericks had to fear in the non-Luka minutes.
Yeah, good point being made here in the comments by Michael about Dalen Wright not playing. And I agree. I would much rather go with him over Justin Jackson. I guess the thought is that Barea is going to handle the pick and roll duties, and you need to space it out around him, and Wright's not as good at that. But
Wright's also a much better defender.
That's correct. Here's the drive from Hardaway. Zubac not called for the foul. Hardaway thought he would get it. That's the risk you take when you feel that contact and go for the shot. Don't get the call. Now here's JaMychal Green in the corner, and this one's getting out of hand quickly, Danny. Just as you feared with Luka off the floor, Dallas can't score, and that's fueled the Clipper break.
Yeah, 49-31, a 15-7 run for the Clippers at the beginning of the second quarter. And let's take a second to tell you about our friends at boogies.com. It's great to have. I mean, one of my favorite things is if you go to boogies.com/NBA, you'll notice this right away. Their page with all of the potential bets, it's live updating. So what that means is, and you can if you want to go to a specific game, you could see all of the different places that are out there, and they tell you this is the best place to make that wager, assuming it's legal in your jurisdiction. And so having that all on one page, you and I really value our time. It's so convenient.
Yeah, definitely. And they've also got great expert picks as well from the likes of Adam Thompson and Mark Stratton. Both those guys doing pretty well. I hope those guys actually bet their picks because they're probably making some pretty good money right now.
Yeah, both over 60% so far on the year.
That's fantastic. And also you can follow them on Twitter at Bookies to get some information as well when you're looking at your Twitter stream. So that's really helpful. And you can click through, as Danny mentioned, to those best of betting deals in your state if gambling is legal there. Go to bookies.com or follow at bookies on Twitter.
From Robert Jeffrey, before the series, I said if Luka played well, he would win an MVP in the next few years. I just said next 3 years. Has he played at the level you thought he would? Not quite. He's been close. It's definitely not been a disappointment for me, but he hasn't been like the best player on the floor for me consistently enough to say that was the threshold for me with him. And Dallas has done well overall as a team, but not quite. So I still think it's very possible that he does, but I'm not saying it that as definitively as the possibility I laid out.
Oh, we got a question. Where can I find this stats table? It looks awesome. And the answer is rthoops.net. Our friend Min Huang put this site together. It's live updating. It actually uses the play-by-play to track the number of possessions in real time. So, yeah, you can go there and check this out for any game anytime you want. He's put together a great site.
Oh, this could be a good one for us. From Zach, do you think the Raptors or the Rockets are more likely to win their conference? And I'm going to go with the Raptors, especially because they have to go through one high-end title contention team, and while as the Rockets would have to go through two in a row on neutral sites.
Yeah, I'd put it pretty close to equal in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd have it pretty close, but I would have the Raptors as better odds, let's say. Do you think the Warriors are going to trade their pick? So I've been running into the problem. We'll of course do Warriors offseason preview at some point, not in the immediate future, in the more distant future, of who is worth that number 2 pick. Not even in the abstract of, like a old Jimmy Johnson or Kevin Pelton does a version in the NBA pick value chart, but just because you think about how to match salaries and using the trade exception, that's going to, if that's the way it goes, or finding somebody who makes more that wants Andrew Wiggins or something. I think it's harder, but here's my prediction. They will trade one or more of the Minnesota pick and their own. I'm just not sure it's going to be their own. I think it might be the Minnesota one.
All right, we're back here. Luka remaining on the bench. This is a 2-3 zone, it looks like, from the Clippers. Now they shift into a man-to-man. Barea snaking the pick and roll. Goes to the mid-ranger over Zubac. Another miss. And here comes Lou Williams in transition once more for the Clippers. Picked up by Jackson. Tries to get him in the air. Backdoor cut. Oh, great job by Finney-Smith fighting around on the Zubac post-up. And Lou Williams takes the Euro foul and says, my bad for that pass. Sorry, Zoo.
Yeah, and a nice job by Finney-Smith anticipating the pass, getting a hand in there, and that created an almost instant fast break. And it is good, I think having Lou Williams on the floor with Paul George in these non-Kawhi minutes, having a couple guys that can create, but I think Reggie is kind of a hat on a hat. Though with Patrick Beverley out, they need minutes for guards, and so it's not that big a deal.
There's Justin Jackson missing the mid-ranger. They are getting nothing at the rim right now with Zubac in there and no Luka Doncic. Here's the post-up by JaMychal Green. He posted up Doncic a couple of times, getting to that exact same hook shot, and good job by Justin Jackson not letting him get back as easily to that left shoulder. That was the same move that he made. Here's Kleber with a deep 3. Kleber has not had the touch at all in this series from downtown. Williams, they'll switch Hardaway onto him. Williams draws yet another foul, yet another bucket, and this is going to be a 20-point Clipper lead.
Quick Justin Jackson story. So every year, Nate and I can only make it through a small number, like let's say 10 or so in a real scout of the draft prospects. And so there's somebody who's drafted high that we haven't seen before. And every year or two, there's one of those guys who, when I see them in summer league, I just go, really? Him? And Justin Jackson was one of those. And the track record of those players actually making it in the NBA is exceedingly low. Like Papagiannis was another one of those guys. Caleb Swanigan, he was a later first-round pick, was one of those guys. Because you can tell pretty quickly with some players, especially if they didn't face high-end competition, which Jackson did. But you could, because I hadn't seen anything. I didn't know whether he was going to be good or not, but you could just tell.
I mean, I'll tell you what, honestly, at this point, you see Luka just struggling to warm up out there. If he doesn't look good in this stint, I think it would just shut him down.
Agreed.
There's a nice drive by Kleber on that open side pick and roll. Good leave by that's Finney Smith with that play. Dorian Finney-Smith, man, his skill level is just so much better than it used to be. Good pressure from Jackson against Williams, trying to keep him on the sideline. Lou on the drive, fades back. Oh, man, he is just eviscerating the Mavericks in this quarter. Lou Williams, all of a sudden, is up to 14 points, 5 of 6 from the field. Now George, again, called for that foul. And Paul George, his style leads to a lot of those kind of bang-bang plays where Luka trying to curl around. George likes to get his hand in between the screener and the guy he's guarding to try and get through the screen, and that can lead to a lot of plays where there is some contact. The guy will try to throw up the shot to highlight that contact, and the referee has to make a difficult decision. So, I mean, we should probably do like 2 more bookies.com ads pretty quickly here because because this game may not remain competitive much longer, I fear. But we'll save that for now and hit another couple of questions.
Are the Clippers more like, from John Schoenkoff, are the Clippers more likely to tinker around the margins of the roster for next season, or will there be more meaningful changes? I think it'll be more around the margins. They don't have a ton of flexibility. And the interesting kind of part of that is Marcus Morris's leverage, because they have non-bird rights should be sufficient on Morris. There aren't that many teams that have that passion and interest. It'd be hilarious if the Knicks re-signed him, but other than them. But they can't really replace him. All they'll have is the mid-level exception. And so I think that it will be more moves around the margin because they can't do a whole heck of a lot else. They could maybe do something with like Zubats or something, but I think it's going to be tinkering. But I also think they might be the reigning NBA champions, and then generally teams do a little less.
Yeah, Harrell, of course, can be a free agent. JaMychal Green could be a free agent if he wants to. They certainly have the wherewithal to bring back Harrell and bring back Morris. I think it more likely that Morris will return than Harrell necessarily. But there's still much to be written as far as how useful Harrell ends up being in the playoffs. And, of course, given his travails before the bubble and during the bubble, with him just trying to work back in shape, maybe that's not a fair referendum on how much he can help this team at the highest levels. Although he will, of course, have a chance to work back into it by the time they really face a series that's going to threaten them in the Lakers.
A question from Raising Floors. Is it a 25% chance, larger or smaller, that a team other than the Bucks, Clippers, or Lakers wins the championship?
I'd say smaller.
I would too. It's interesting. So I'm looking at 538's ELO projections right now. They have those 3 teams. Let me do a quick thing. So they actually have it as a 66% chance that one of those 3. Oh no, and that's the Raptors. Never mind. It's actually a lot less than that. But I think that's because the ELO forecasts are throwing in a couple of extra things. The Raptors are playing really well right now. But yeah, I personally would have it. I would have it below 25%.
If Gordon Hayward weren't injured, I might bump that a little bit and maybe give the Celtics a bit more of a look. I did think that yesterday's game for Houston against OKC has got to be a little sobering if you're a Houston fan, seeing some of the issues that James Harden is having, and against a team with one good defender, basically. And he just has so few ways to attack that, yes, those ways are very difficult to deal with. But if he can't score in those ways, then all of a sudden he seems like quite powerless, and that's what we saw yesterday.
And also a lot of the other Rockets teammates, they can do stuff. I mean, we've seen Eric Gordon look better, but they can't. A lot of them can't do a ton with the ball in their hands. So if Harden isn't doing it quite right, then it's going to be a real challenge.
So did they challenge this foul? Is that what happened there? George, I mentioned how he often gets that hand in there. As you could see on that replay, he didn't actually have the hand in there. Here's Jackson going at Lou Williams. Can't beat him, but I think they're going to get Zubats with a loose ball foul.
And that's his second, I believe.
Yeah, he got his left arm engaged with Kleba as they went for the rebound. Oh, but wow, Steph Curry is in the virtual stands. It's That's why you're watching us, I guess, because we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's actually talk about the game as Kleba misses the first free throw. And it's becoming clear to me that it's not even necessarily, Danny, what Porzingis's absence in and of itself has meant, but the fact that they've had to get way smaller and play a lot of guys that they just weren't playing. I mean, Jackson, Barea, as there's a technical on the Clippers here, but uh, Jackson, Barea, Kid Gilchrist, guys who are really on the fringes of their rotation are not playing at all, have to come in now. And those guys, Barea's too small. Jackson can't guard anyone. He's not a great open three-point shooter. Kid Gilchrist isn't a great open three-point shooter. We saw with them not guarding Kid Gilchrist, they set him up in the corner a couple times. He couldn't take advantage. So big concern there that the theory of the Mavericks offense is being negatively impacted by not having their best personnel out there. And now Barea is going to get called for the hand fighting with Lou Williams. Yeah, I mean, that one, he only really makes contacts with Lou's arm, with his arm, but Leonard has returned with 7:12 remaining in the period. He comes off the Zubac screen, engages Kleba, leaves it easily for him, but Luka with good help, but they foul Zubac underneath now. Zubac, it's funny, he doesn't always catch it cleanly, but he also has a knack for recovering and then just being huge under there and still scoring in the end anyway.
Yeah, like kind of a grab and a grab. Yeah, it worked okay there, and it was close to being a held ball, but Zubats would have won the jump ball anyway, so it's not that dramatic a difference. And the Clippers aren't in the bonus, so pretty much the same.
Shamet's three-pointer, a little short here off the nice pass from Leonard. That was definitely the right pass there from Kawhi. Now Luka, run into by Kawhi. JaMychal Green recovers the loose ball. Crossover on Finney-Smith, and he's hacked. 2 free throws forthcoming for JaMychal Green. And that was another one of those bang-bang plays, going over the screen with Luka. He's such a technician. He tries to get so close to the screen, and the referee has to decide, is that going to be a foul or not? But Kawhi is so strong, he just caused Luka to bounce off him. They didn't call it, and he lost it.
Yeah, no, it's a great point you brought up about Dallas. It's something that I talk about a fair amount, which is when you lose a starter, a lot of times it has all these other big ripple effects in your rotation. And partially because it seems like DeLon Wright needs to be on a milk carton, they just don't have enough capable players. And that's a real challenge when facing the Clippers, who, even without Patrick Beverley, have a lot of capable players.
Yeah, and this is really, without Luka playing 100%, I think the Clippers have started to figure him out a little bit, that he has a few limitations as a ball handler. Green can't hit either free throw. They'll screen away for Trey Burke, who's back. Now MKG setting the screen. Harrell one-on-one against Luka. Luka creating space for the step back, but he's short. Rebound bounces out to Curry, and Seth Curry has really been the only Maverick to have it going here early.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Dallas is going to look more like themselves for these last 6 minutes because they have five competent players out there on the floor. So I think that the margin won't really get that much worse. But then you remember there are going to be more of those non-Luka minutes in the second half.
They switch Curry onto George. He'll step back for a 3 off the dribble. Not really a great shot that time. Now Luka tries to CP3 it on JaMychal Green and then goes right to the rim against Harrell. I like them much better. That time, Green going for that rebound created a fast break when there didn't need to be one. But I like Harrell switching on to Luka, with Luka maybe limited mobility with the ankle, force Luka to create one-on-one against Harrell rather than letting him go downhill at Harrell trying to protect the rim. Leonard, jab step, stepping back against MKG. Couple of settles here for the Clippers. Now it's the same dance again with Luka and JaMychal Green. Here's the 3 in the corner for Burke. And so JaMychal Green going to the offensive glass has resulted in 5 points for Dallas. Timeout for the Clippers. I'm guessing JaMychal Green will not be joining us after this timeout. But that was just a hilarious exchange to see the same thing twice in a row like that.
Yeah, the second one wasn't helped by Shamit falling down, but the advantage was created by Jermichael Green being out of position. I think we should, even though this game is getting closer, I think it is a good idea to tell them about our friends at bookies.com. And something that I'm going to really enjoy, we've talked about how Adam Thompson and Mark Stratman are both doing incredibly well so far during the playoffs and during the season in total. They actually have a public pick disagreement coming up with Raptors Nets, one of the later games today. Stratman picked the Nets over the Raptors. It has that ridiculous 13.5 spread, and Thompson picked the Raptors over the Nets. So they have an actual disagreement. It's gonna be fun to watch that. And you can, if you go to bookies.com/NBA and you can see their pick section, they give great explanations on each of these as well.
Yeah, also fun to go take a look through some of their futures lists. They've got winners for each conference listed. They've got series futures picks right now. For example, the Lakers are negative 2,500 and the Blazers are plus 1,000 now in that series, with the Lakers up 2-1. Jazz minus 357. Denver Nuggets plus 270 in that series. And of course, you can click through to the best deals on betting in your state. Go to bookies.com.
Well, then if you want to get into the fun one, they also have in Pacers Heat, you can pick what the length of the series is going to be. So if it's the Heat in 5 or the Pacers in 7 or whatever, which I also think is really fun. But we're back.
Here's Leonard tripped by Kleber in the pick and roll defense. Interesting there. If it were me, I probably would want to switch that one. Now Leonard is going to go to the foul line, where he's been unstoppable in this series. And with Kleber picking up that foul, Boban is going to replace him. Kleber now on 3 fouls, another blow to the Mavs. So they've got MKG and Boban out there, and so much of what their offense is about is spacing the floor around Doncic pick and rolls. But with Boban and MKG, that theory really goes away. They try to engage Shamit on Doncic. They don't switch that. Now here's the drive by Doncic into the lane. Loops it up for Boban. It goes off the glass. Boban actually missed the layup. Gets it back. Stopped by Harrell. MKG. And he'll go to the line finally after Leonard reached in on him. Not a good defensive rebounding stint for the Clippers. That's one thing that they struggle with. Harrell is a poor defensive rebounder.
Yeah, and the Clippers overall in the game, they only have 2 offensive rebounds for themselves, and I believe that's now after those 5 for the Mavericks. Though I think 2 or 3 of those came on this play. Yeah, clean block by Harrell.
And actually, I thought Kawhi's strip was pretty clean, but ball don't lie. Missed free throw. Kid Gilchrist, of course, number 2 overall pick in 2012. I wonder if he was one of the 3 players Billy King was referring to when he called it a 3-player draft.
Maybe it was Dion Waiters.
But then spent time in Charlotte, was a defensive stalwart for them, but really his game fell off, I thought, even defensively, not to mention the fact that his jump shot never developed at all. And then he ended up being bought out and signed with the Mavs. Burks closed out by George. Now Doncic looking to post up, and instead they passed it over to Burke, and looks like Paul George just enough. The pass fake got Burke open there by Doncic. George was a little bit worried about that post up of Boban. They try to avoid the switch here. That leaves George open on the pick and pop. George still can't find the range. That's a nice play, though. Good pass from Leonard. Doncic crossing over on Morris into the lane and scores over. And once more, this will be an and one for Luka. Once more, we're seeing just how much easier it is for Luka getting to the basket without Zubac in there. I would go back to Zubac very shortly here if I were Doc Rivers. He does have 2 fouls, but Zubac is plus 18 in this game, and Harrell is negative 9.
Yeah, I don't think it's easy enough to pull that data, but I'd be very interested in the Mavericks shot charts with each of the respective center options on the floor, because the aggressiveness of Luka's drives in particular has been so noticeable because he knows he can get all the way to the basket.
Yeah, you could probably get it on cleaning the glass if you just filter it for this one game. Go back and just look at it for like on off the floor. 9-point game as Dallas has started stopping the Clippers. I also might try and get Lou Williams back in. He was so effective early in this quarter. Here's George trying to drive past Luka. Good job by Luka cutting him off. George, inside out dribble, now gives it up. Leonard's 3 over Kidd-Gilchrist misses. They're not getting quite the same quality of shots here. Here's Burke. Oh, then he just throws it away. Kidd-Gilchrist gave up on his cut. George trying to take his time. They'll swing it around. Jackson. And you see how Reggie Jackson holds the ball like that in comparison to Shamet? Now Jackson not holding the ball on that one, but he probably should have.
Yeah. Made those first 2 threes and made a quick mid-ranger, but a couple of misses since then.
Yeah, so why not go back to Lou Williams here instead of Jackson is my question. Here's Burke eluding Shamet in the corner, forced into 2-point range, but this has been a really nice recovery for the Dallas Mavericks on a 15-2 run. They've really done it defensively.
Yeah, and that's also taken the Clippers out of transition. It's a feedback loop.
Yeah, wide open 3 finally. I mean, now the Clippers have missed some open 3s, to be clear, and Boban, there's just no way that Boban could possibly rotate into the corner, and Harrell made sure he couldn't with a nice flare screen. Back to goal for Doncic. This is another part of his game I'd like to see him develop, and he goes right past Reggie Jackson, who was abused on that play.
And getting the end one there, even though there wasn't really any way to affect Luka on that shot. Another play I hate.
Yeah, and particularly look at this personnel, right? It's Boban and MKG. Why would you not have your big center in the game here against this group? And now here he comes, but they already gave up a bunch of points off this lead. And now, worth noting, they're probably going to win this series. They're up 20. Montrezl Harrell needs time. He needs minutes. He is a really good option against the Lakers. Probably a better option, perhaps, against the Rockets if it goes that way. So there's more to it than just this game, certainly. But if you're trying to win this game, I don't think there's much of an argument that Harrell's a better option than Zubac. Shamet, oh, nice rebound. And Zubac is going to get hacked by Boban. They'll call it on the floor, surprisingly, but it doesn't matter.
But it's
They're
the
in the
same
bonus.
2 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Shamet, it's good that he's still firing away. Those are good looks from him. He needs to take those. He's 1 of 5 overall from 3 now, but all of them have been totally fine. And we've also seen the Clippers, I think, out of respect to Doncic, their closeouts have been a little bit late, and that's what's opened up some of these mid-rangers for Seth Curry, Trey Burke, and Tim Hardaway.
Zubac, a solid free throw shooter for a big man. The Clippers got him on maybe the worst, if not the worst trade, the most asinine trade of the last few years.
The way I described it when we did a pod on it was the least defensible trade. There was basically the Lakers chose Mike Muscala over Zubac, and Mike Muscala, other than when he's trying to kill the Thunder's draft pick, not the best player.
Well, hilariously, Zubac was already probably the best center that the Lakers had last year. Now here's Luka. That's the shot that I want to see from him right there, is just a normal shot off the pick and roll on the move. Zubac is going to hang back, just bang that 3 on him off the screen. Now Luka with a good play to get a deflection, but it goes to George. George attacking Luka, cut off nicely, good defense. They'll swing it around. Here's Lou Williams down the lane. Can't replicate the magic from earlier in this quarter. Dallas a chance to cut into it again. Deep 3, Luka. Way short.
Oof. Yeah, way short. And it seems like he has missed a few short that might be the ankle, or it might just be getting a little bit out of rhythm. But that one, the one that you talked about, was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, that's the shot. Like, on the move, quick, plant, 1-2, pop up. And if he can get that going to his right as well, he's going to be really difficult to deal with. Now Leonard into the lane. And Kawhi Leonard cannot be stopped when he has it in his mind to get to the basket in this series.
And
Clear foul there by Boban on the right arm.
And Kawhi has only taken 8 shots from the field, but he has gotten to the line. I believe this will be his 6th free throw attempt and 3 assists. So he's doing reasonably well. He hasn't been dominant yet, but that's in the back pocket if they need it.
Well, and he just looks so good physically. Now George, wow, he got clubbed away by Luka. Did you see that block?
Yeah. Luka's defense in the last 5 minutes of the second quarter has been impressive.
Less impressive was the box out by Kidd-Gilchrist on the free throw attempt.
Fair enough.
Zubac looking for George, who has been guarded capably by Doncic. That time he got screened off, though. Here's a three from Leonard spotting up. Can't get that. Burke runs down the rebound, but Clips are back. Burke along the baseline blows past Shamet for the easy reverse, and Zubac did not get there in help defense. He was worried about Luka or Boban Marjanovic running down the lane. There's a nice drop off again. Such good chemistry between Kawhi and Zubac.
And great patience Kawhi has developed as a passer. He always kind of had it in his game, but just knowing that the window's not there right now, but in a second or two it could be there.
2-for-1. Let's see if Luka tries. Now Zubac is further up, and Luka tipped away from behind. The claw gets a hand on it.
And so now with 38, you still have another couple seconds to get a shot up. But I don't think I'd want to wait all the way to the 30 if the goal is to get a 2-for-1, because if it bounces around a little bit, it might be like 26 or so, and then it's final shot.
Shamet replaced by Reggie Jackson for defensive purposes. Marjanovic back to goal. Time running down. He has to go for the long-range hook shot. Good denial there by Leonard on Luka created that situation. 8-second differential or so. Lou Williams against Burke. See whether there's a screen or he just tries to take him one-on-one. It's going to be the latter. Into the lane. Lou Williams, short, gets his own offensive rebound, and they can get the last shot here in the quarter if he pulls it out. He'll try Burke again. 5 seconds. Pulling up from deep to his right. Squirts out. Luka will gun it from his own free throw line. And pretty impressive resilience by the Dallas Mavericks. They trailed at 55-35 at one point, but it was a 23-11 run to make this a game as we go into the second half.
Leading scorer is a tie between Luka Doncic and Trey Burke. Each of them have 15 points. Luka on 6 of 12 from the field. Burke on 6 of 7, 3 of 4 from 3. Even in offensive rebounds. And one of the other striking things about this game, the Clippers, part of why they have a really strong 129 offensive rating is that they basically haven't turned the ball over. 3 turnovers, only 2 of which were live ball in 24 minutes of action.
All right, well, we are going to turn it over to a blank screen for the next 10 minutes or so, a little quick halftime break, but we'll be back to answer some questions and preview the second half in about 10 minutes. So start that timer. We'll talk to y'all then. All right, welcome back from halftime here. 66-58, Clippers lead, and it looked like with at 55-35, we were going to have a massive blowout on our hands. What changed, Danny, as the Mavs made this a game?
Well, I think one of the big things that changed was just the Mavericks having all of their most competent players on the floor. We saw Justin Jackson, JJ Barea in particular, out there for some of those rough minutes. Those guys were both -10 in about 5 minutes. And also, I thought that the Clippers did not do a good enough job with putting the right personnel out there in the Boban minutes, particularly Zubats not being there. And so Luka was able to get downhill, and I thought that made a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree. Now, the Clippers still managed a 127 offensive rating in the first half. Lou Williams started out 6 of 7. Wait, no, that'd be impossible because he's only 5 of 9 now. He started off 5 of 6, but he had 14 points. He was plus 12. And yeah, the Luka minutes. Luka is actually plus 3. They trail it by 8, so they're -11 in the non-Luka minutes. Tim Hardaway getting his third foul. It really forced Carlisle to go deeper into his bench. He was only to play 9 minutes, but of course, we've seen this cascade effect here with Porzingis out and some of the guys that they've had to play what some of the matchups are even in the starting group.
Right, and we can get to some questions just quickly. We have a little bit of time. Is Paul George's play the last 3 games a concern if you're the Clippers? I think a little bit, but remember that he has a long time to get right. So the Clippers' next opponent is going to be the Jazz, probably, maybe the Nuggets. And George is going to have to defend well, I think, in that series. I think his defense could make a difference, but they can survive that series without him offensively. And then theoretically, the Lakers or the Rockets, I think that will be a bigger test for Paul George. So it is a concern for sure, especially like his form doesn't look quite right. It looks a little bit off, but there's a lot of time between now and when that really, really matters. And unfortunately, because we thought that could be the series.
Yeah, I mean, he has had some ice on that right shoulder, but he started off in the bubble really shooting it well. So unless there's actually been an active re-injury of that shoulder, I mean, I think he's just been missing shots. I've liked the quality of looks that he's had today. They just haven't necessarily gone down for him, and they will need him to be that secondary scorer, particularly because I think if he's going well, then you don't have to rely as much on some of the one-way guys, Harrell and Williams, off the bench. Let's talk about bookies.com here before we bring y'all back. Bookies.com, great place to find odds, both live odds and also futures odds. So you can check out their bookies.com/NBA page. They, of course, also have information about other stuff. And what the point of the site is to just give you great betting information, and then hopefully you click through if you are interested in making one of those bets to legal betting services in your state.
And it looks like the line that I'm seeing for the in-game line that I'm seeing for it is about 7.5. The Clippers are about 7.5 point favorites in a game they currently lead by 8. So that's interesting. That means they think, from what I could tell, they think the Mavericks are going to hold it about even. I'm a little dubious of that.
Me too. I mean, Luka Doncic isn't playing all 24 minutes. So let's reset here. Ask a couple more questions before we get into the second half.
Oh, it's an interesting one from Robin Jeffrey. Which GM job would you most like to have right now?
Pels has got to be up there. Mavs, Grizz.
I think it's Dallas for me, even though they don't have any high-end draft picks. Just figuring out what to do around Luka and Porzingis. Remember, they have an owner that's willing to spend, and they have about max space in 2021. Not a guarantee that that's going to work, that they're going to get somebody who's a great fit. But even those second-tier free agents, that would be a really interesting one. Memphis, I wish they hadn't committed all that money, but like Memphis would be, if you and I both really would enjoy building around Ja. And if we rewound this back a year, I think the Hawks would have been higher, but now they're a little bit more committed to some of their path.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Warriors would certainly be fascinating too.
Yeah, there's just not as much flexibility there. I mean, especially depending on the ownership directive on how much money they're willing to spend, and maybe they're still willing to spend a ton of money. But that team is pretty well settled. I would be less interested in that.
All right, we are back here. Luka despite the sprained ankle, a brilliant half in the end with 15 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, it didn't even really feel like he was playing that well, honestly, to still put up that kind of a number. Double screen for Luka. Finney-Smith on the pick and pop. They induced the miscommunication, but not enough as Morris gets the block. Swing it around, still 10 on the clock. Luka will go at Morris. No, they swing it to Burke. He attacks Leonard. Nice lead for Kleber, who was not ready. He was going for the offensive board. Now Finney-Smith has to jack it up, and the Clippers control.
Nice hustle, though, by Finney-Smith to get to that ball and at least get something up there. They could have gotten a rebound.
George attacking Luka with good help. Here's Shamet into the lane, going at Kleber, and Kleber just got knocked down by Shamet, and Zubac easy cleanup on the offensive glass. Luka attacking. Oh, nice backdoor as the help came too late from Leonard. Yeah, Paul George tried to call out that Leonard should go guard Kleber, but he left him too early. You can't leave a guy wide open right under the basket like that. Shamet going at Burke. Switched onto by Hardaway. Now they just let him switch back by running another screen. George points it to the other direction. Leonard, baseline, uh-oh. And he's fouled. Thought that might be shaping up as a big dunk for Kawhi Leonard.
And I'm interested in who they gave that to. They kind of looked like it might have been Luka. No, they gave that to Trey Burke. Okay, so that's Burke's first foul. Not a big deal.
Yeah, Burke looks to be limping as well. Remember, he sprained his ankle he got it, just a little tweak there on that left ankle. He sprained his in game 1. And Trey Burke, I mean, he got signed by the Mavericks just off the street before the bubble.
Yeah, and he's been an important part of their bench. You know, he's supplanted JJ Barea and fits in well. And Rick Carlisle's done a really nice job kind of bringing in point guards off of the scrap heap, let's call it, and making them into productive players, if not, great players necessarily.
Yeah, Burke only signed on July 1st. 10-point Clippers lead. Hardaway off the double screen, swings it to Finney-Smith for a 3. Yes, Dorian Finney-Smith. Good pass from Hardaway there. He can get a little thirsty on those at times. The play is for you, so a lot of times that means you're going to want to take the shot. And now George with the elbow up in the head of Hardaway, but misses the open jumper. No foul was called.
2 of 9 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3 for Paul George.
Luka, that's one of those shots you'd love to see him take, because he gets into the floater instead. But going to his right three-pointer, he had that shot. Did work in for something better that time, though. But that's not really a shot he has going to his right yet. Here's the pull-up from Morris. Nice contest by Luka. Zubac, offensive rebound. Loops it out to Leonard. Loads up for 3. Kawhi Leonard, as Dallas had closed within 5, restores order to an 8-point Clipper advantage. Luka. See, doesn't want that shot again going to his right, but now they got Zubac on him. Luka turns the corner into the lane. Help comes from a ton of places. The pass was off. Leonard just runs over Luka in the screening action. Now here's Burke on the drive. What power and speed from Trey Burke. Where is this athleticism coming from? This was not there for him when he first came out of Michigan by any means. He blew by Kawhi Leonard. Back to goal, George going right through Hardaway. Nice pass underneath. Zubac couldn't get the left-handed cram, though.
Yeah, and that wasn't a nice vision to get the commitment and make the pass to Kleber's man, Zubac, but still not quite enough.
They get this foul on Morris, holding Kleber as he tried to roll behind the defense out of that screen. That, of course, a point of education in the last couple of years. Holding guys rolling to the basket is a foul. Luka switched onto by Kawhi. Oh, what a Euro step. He got past George beautifully.
Yeah, the cadence, where the ball location, that was so pretty from Luka. So now it's down to a 4-point margin, 11-7 for Dallas in these first 3 minutes of the second half. And remember, they struggled in the first quarter. Dallas was down 10 at the end of the first when Luka played the entire time. So these minutes extremely important.
So I think for a lot of guys who grew up around when I was playing, when guys do the Euro step wasn't something that guys used like in pickup games. you don't understand like how devastating a move it actually is. But if you really like diagram it out on the court, and the broadcast did a good job of this at halftime, to look like, okay, where's that left foot being planted, and then where's the next step with the right foot? The lane is 16 feet wide, and Luka takes a step. His left foot is on the block, and then his right foot on that move is basically right under the hoop. So he's covering 8 feet laterally on that move from left foot to landing on his right foot, and that's why people get fooled by that move so badly. They really cover a lot of ground. It's kind of hard to see that when you're looking at the camera that's from the side to really experience how far he's actually traveling on that move.
A question from Yis Kamenetsky. Do you think the Nets will come out of the East next year? No, I don't. I think that the bet, unfortunately, has to be that Kevin Durant will not be 100% of what he was. Also, I mean, not only because of the Achilles, but because he's at the point where you wouldn't expect that from players anyway due to the aging curve. But also, they don't have enough of a defensive identity, and there is a chance that the best team in the East is weaker next year. But I think the Bucks are going to keep Giannis. I think they're going to be very, very good, even if he doesn't extend. So no, I would not expect that. I'm not even sure I'd have them top 2, maybe somewhere around 3rd. And that depends on what the Raptors and Celtics look like.
Well, and there's also just a concern about health between him and Kyrie Irving. There's also the concern about how the hell they're going to stop anybody. So I'm yeah, but I think 32-year-old Kevin Durant, and then throw in coming back from an Achilles as well. Now, you will have more time to rehab. You know, it's going to have been a year and a half by the time the next season starts since his injury. So hopefully he won't have the component of having to ease back into it quite as much.
Yeah, and that's potentially relevant for Klay Thompson as well, where there's been the thing that like people think of an ACL issue as a year-long thing, but it's really more like 18 months. And so not having to play for all that time is there. From John Crispin, Cantave, why aren't the Clippers attacking Boban more? I agree. I think that's something they can do. Boban's limited mobility, yeah, he's really long, but his limited mobility, I think, is a potential exploitable thing for the Clippers.
It's pretty amazing. 123 offensive rating for Dallas in this game. They're not shooting it particularly impressively from 3, 6 out of 18, not even getting up that many attempts. But I mean, the brilliance of Luka Doncic and Rick Carlisle and Trey Burke has been unbelievable in this game with 17 points, and somehow they're still doing it. They're still staying right with this Clippers juggernaut.
Well, and even though they're turning it over more than the Clippers, both teams not turning the ball over is really helping that because they're getting shots up on almost every possession, sometimes 2 with an offensive rebound.
Yeah, there you see it, right? That left to right Euro step around George, just the amount of ground that is covered there is just very difficult to deal with. A little token pressure from Kleba. Now George. They want to get Kawhi posting up against Finney-Smith. Double team comes. They just left Paul George. Rotation from Kleba. Leonard's 3 is open but misses. Doncic, another defensive rebound. Pick and roll. Swings it to Hardaway. He's wide open. Bucket. They took advantage of Morris. And so they've changed up the matchup now, the Clippers have, with Kawhi guarding Luka. When they get serious, that's the matchup they go to instead of Marcus Morris, and they immediately make him pay with a 3. It's a 1-point game. Swing it around to George. His 3 misses again. Great box out by Kleba. Mavs can take the lead here, Danny. Luka creating space. Zubac flummoxes him again. Give it back to him, though. Boxes and elbows here in the ISO. Step back, Luka. Way out. Way short.
Yeah, and those ones where he's tried to go back, those haven't really worked too well. Kind of the flat-footed, not as dynamic. Just some of those have been really short. Luka now.
Well, here's the
one
thing,
for
too.
5 from 3.
Why not drive in and then take the step back right at the 3-point line instead of 4 feet behind the 3-point line?
I agree.
George. Morris closed down by Luka, who's been good defensively in this game. Morris goes for the shot over him, and an excellent boxing out once more by Kleba. He's done well there.
And the Clippers only have 7 points in the quarter.
Hardaway for 3 and the lead. They've had a couple of chances at it now. Clippers offense hasn't been good enough since they led by 20. George goes through Hardaway. Good no call there. Shamet closed down by Burke nicely. Steal. Finney-Smith one-on-one against Kawhi. Burke running the floor. Oh, what a pass! And Burke is clubbed. That was awesome. And in fact, I love, this is something that we should see guys do more often, even big guys, is, and I hesitate to say this, but this is something that I actually do in pickup, is like, if you're running the floor and you're ahead of your guy, but like not really enough to give a passing angle, you're just like a couple steps ahead of him. If you just stop, let the guy run into your back and then accelerate again, then you can get open, or you can open up like a little lob ahead of the field that way as well.
It's kind of like a seal in a way.
Absolutely. No, it's exactly what it is. And it works great because there's no one else ahead of you that you can just seal the guy off, and then they can throw it into space to you more easily. Burke misses the free throw. There's a lid on the bucket as the Mavs try to take this lead. Now the best Burke can do is tie it.
Yeah, it's 7 points in 5 minutes for the Clippers.
Burke does, in fact, tie the game. Harrell has come on. I don't think that's going to help their defense much, but maybe it helps the offense a little bit. Leonard against Finney-Smith. They just straight double him off of George. Good rotation. No advantage gained. Luka cuts off Morris. Burke gambles and loses on the steal. Here's George into the lane. Does Leonard have time? He does. Misses that. Kleba again. Kleba has been great on the defensive glass. He tipped it away from Harrell. Burke. Morris almost had the interception. Here's Hardaway. Goes for the Dr. J on the baseline around George.
And Harrell nowhere to be found. I'm not exactly sure who he was guarding, but doesn't get back towards the basket. Probably on Kleba, I guess.
Yeah, and here's the charge. Dallas is going crazy. No! It's going to be a blocking foul. How on earth is that a blocking foul? Kleba looked to be there.
Yeah, and the guy on the weak side there on that Tim Hardaway drive was Lou Williams. He's not getting over to affect that shot, and so what a finish by Hardaway Jr.
So it was on the pass-off, but Kleba, is that a fourth foul on him? Yeah, it is. That's a key call.
That
might have
potentially could have
considered
been
a
a challenge.
Yeah. George way short, or I'm sorry, that's Leonard way short. Finney-Smith did well to bother him from behind. Dallas looking to build on a 2-point advantage. Luka attacking. Step through. 3 from Finney-Smith. Oh, it drops off just short. Now Lou Williams, he can't let him go left in this situation. Instead, they go into Leonard in the post. Double team comes again. Clippers haven't made him pay on this, and they don't again. Now it's Williams. Good job by Burke. He came all the way over from the opposite side. Here's the leave. Harrell blows the layup. That was great defense from Burke. He double teams Leonard on the left block, and he's all the way over to get his man Lou Williams in the right corner. Great effort. Luka against Morris. Pick comes from Boban, sends him left. They want to force Luka right so he can't get to that step back. Luka with a very lazy pass. That had no chance. Now George, cut off again by Luka. Luka with a steal. Luka attacking George in transition. Gets him in the air. Scores! Luka Doncic dominating here.
And a really impressive defensive performance from Luka, especially in the second and third quarters. A big part of that. He's primary defender on Paul George.
What a response here from the Maverick. They looked like this series was over, down 20 in the second quarter. George going for the ISO jumper. Still not getting the looks for the Clippers. They're forcing Luka to his right again. He'll use the screen. Gets Leonard on his back. Into the lane. Leaves for Boban for the big dunk. How much would you pay to see a dunk contest between Zubac and Boban?
$1.
I think it'd be fun. Here's Harrell driving. Swings it to Morris. Closes late, but the Clippers can't hit anything right now. They trail by 6. They've scored a mere 7 points in the period. Hardaway at George. Hardaway again.
And second effort, Paul George, the kind of thought his job was done. Nobody else was there. Nobody boxes out Tim Hardaway Jr. More points for the Mavericks.
Now Lou Williams, and he draws the foul. That's such a killer for Dallas because they're got nothing. Everything's going your way, and then you bail them out with a foul like that.
And it's been almost 6 minutes since the Clippers have scored any points, so that makes it even more painful to give them up in that sort of fashion. But if it seems like the Clippers have been settling for a lot of jumpers, you'd be right. They've only taken 12 shots in the restricted area in this entire game compared to 14 floaters, 9 mid-rangers, and then 26 three-pointers.
So one of the biggest questions that I had coming into these playoffs was, what is Luka Doncic going to look like in his first playoff action? The stress test, the crucible of the playoffs. Are they going to attack him defensively? Can they take advantage of him there? Are there going to be little gaps in his offensive game that they can take advantage of? And the answer has been not really. And this is a team that has the personnel to do it as well. Other than just a couple of lapses down the end of game one where he was kind of pouting, Luka is held up defensively. Now he attacks JaMychal Green, who's in, and he'll set up another three-pointer from Hardaway. Lou Williams, again, you're helping without helping by Lou Williams. Lou tries to get it back. Reggie Jackson, his big spot-up three-pointer, as the Clippers have not been able to hit that one pass-away three-pointer from up top.
Yeah, and that might echo Reggie Jackson hitting a couple shots at the beginning, at the end of the first quarter. It's a similar situation for him where he's off ball.
Clippers were in his zone. Lou Williams didn't realize it. He followed Curry. Now here's the deep post-up from Boban, and he hits that tough fading. I mean, that's like a 13-foot hook shot.
And again, we're seeing having Harrell matched up with Boban and with Luka on the floor isn't leading to many benefits for the Clippers.
Now Lou getting past Luka, setting up a Leonard corner three. Yeah, that time Kid Gilchrist, as Carlisle's going to get a timeout, he was worried about the pass to Harrell. Boban really had that taken care of, and that left Leonard open. Good pass from Lou Williams.
Here's Luka's line so far. 21 points on 9 of 15 from the field, and notably 8 of 10 on twos, 11 rebounds, 12 assists, 5 turnovers, and plus 16 in a game his team leads by 5.
I mean, he's going to have like a 30, 15, and 15 game in this game.
I think so too.
So now the question becomes, how many minutes is he going to be able to play?
Yeah, because remember, they hemorrhaged points. They were negative 11 in the minutes Luka sat in, and it wasn't that many minutes in the first half. And remember that Luka is dealing with a sprained ankle. Even if it doesn't seem like it's hampering him too much, it is still a factor in terms of how many minutes he plays.
Yeah, and so bookies.com, this will be our last read for them. We thought we would have to get these in quickly because we owe them 4 reads, but not the case. Looks like this game is going to go down to the fourth quarter. But bookies.com gives you awesome betting information, whether it's about this series, other series, futures bets, live in-game, halftime lines, whatever it is, everything live updates. You don't have to keep refreshing your browser. It just updates on its own. They allow you to click through to legal betting, the best deals in your state. Bookies.com, a ton of information. They got some good expert picks as well, Danny.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I mean, and in the playoffs, you're seeing Adam Thompson and Mark Stroutman make a lot of picks. You can already have Stroutman has the Heat Pacers over for tomorrow. So if you want to look a little bit ahead, you can get into some of those. And it's great to have all of that information at your fingertips, whether you want to check out bookies.com/NBA or follow @bookies on Twitter. And also one of the benefits of following them is they can also be another reminder in case you want to know when our NBA casts are going to be on, because they usually do a great job of tweeting it out.
Luka Doncic and Paul George have led a stunning comeback for the Mavs. Yeah, George, I mean, it is so interesting, right? So the playoff P strikes again. You know, he was like supposedly really good in the playoffs, right? I mean, going back to 2016, he would ramp it up in the playoffs, but since then he has had some pretty disappointing performances. Now, really 4 playoffs in a row for Paul George.
Question from Ethan Shore: is Luka the second best offensive player in the league after Harden? I would say there's an easy argument that he was actually the best offensive player in the regular season. Now, regular season best offensive player and playoff best offensive player are not the same thing, and I want to see it more. So if we're doing an overall like best in the league, I'm going to need to see more, but the early returns are quite good. What particular moves would you make as Josh Harris? So it's an interesting one because for me, I think about this very differently than most owners appear to. We've talked about the idea of if you're sure that or fairly sure that a coach is not one of the, let's call it 10 to 15 best in the league, that you should try somebody else. I feel the same way for general managers. And so I would actually fire both. Well, presumably I would let the general manager choose what they're going to do with the coach, because Elton Brand has made legitimately terrible moves since he took over, and you don't want the person who led you astray to be the one to try to lead you back, because odds are they're not going to be good at that.
All right, we're back here. Luka remains on the floor, staked to a 5-point lead. Curry off the Boban screen. He'll attack Reggie Jackson, where he's had success so far. Boban posting up, but they're late clock. They should double this. Boban can't get the foul call and misses that tough hook shot for almost 15 feet. That is a long hook shot. Good defense by Hardaway. Lou Williams throws it up. Oh, it somehow goes in off the glass.
And remember, Lou Williams was an integral part of the Clippers' run at the start of the second quarter, and he might end up being one here with Paul George off the floor.
So still looks like the Clippers are going to what I think it's a zone, and then they get out of it after the first couple of passes. Luka, they try to draw the charge on him. Harrell does. No dice. And Luka continues to absolutely abuse Harrell in any sort of pick and roll matchup at the rim. Lou driving, right hand. Yes, he beat Kid Gilchrist.
And that's 4 points on 2 possessions for Lou Williams after the timeout.
So the Clippers got to be aware of where they're sending their help here with Kid Gilchrist as a limited offensive player. Reggie Jackson is. Yeah, he's way to the lane. But Luka just steps around Harrell again. Harrell has no chance against Luka.
And this is an absolute failing from Doc Rivers to not realize that, there's this idea of speed versus power with Montrezl Harrell. He's not good enough right now, and this game is falling away a little bit.
Kawhi trying to get it back here. Kid Gilchrist picks up the foul.
And to lean on that point a little bit, Zubac is at 21 minutes. I'm pretty confident that he can, if you give him another rest, he'd be okay. And Harrell has just been completely outmatched in this game.
Well, and here's the other thing here, Danny. Put Zubac in when Luka is in. Give Zubac his rest when Luka is out. That's when you can let Harrell go work at it a little bit and get the offensive benefit without having to deal with him just getting trucked right now defensively.
Yeah, and Harrell, they've been outscored by 16 points in his minutes, and that's not all Harrell, but it's been partially him.
That's another deflection from Luka. They have had great success on this double team of Leonard on these ISOs. Here's the drive from Hardaway. Goes at Jackson. Blocked by Harrell. Nice play. Lou Williams, he's dangerous in these semi-transition situations. Trying to post up JaMychal Green against Curry. He wants to get to that left shoulder for the hook. Good job. Curry cut him off. 3 from Jackson up top. Reggie Jackson misses, and Boban corrals it. Drag screen in transition. Going right at JaMychal Green. Luka into the lane. Can't get the foul. He can get the foul. Bucket. 7-point Dallas lead, and they get the 2 for 1.
And Luka is so strong there that he could take the bump and he was still totally in rhythm on that jump shot. 7-point lead, can push it to an 8-point lead. Right now it is I believe it's a 35-19 quarter. That's incredible. Might be 34 if I'm counting right.
Yeah, Luka has just been unbelievable in this quarter. 28 points, 12 of 18 from the field, 12 assists, 11 rebounds, 2 steals. Does have 5 turnovers, but the Mavs, see, it's not the end of the world if you individually have 5 turnovers when you're creating every single thing for your team and the team as a whole has 8.
Right. Because his turnovers are basically team turnovers.
Lou Williams calls out the play. Mavs, this is the first zone look that I recall us seeing from them. About an 8-second differential. George faking, pass faking, into the lane. He's got Jackson for another spot up three. Reggie Jackson over the top of the backboard. And Dallas with a chance to push this to 10 points. They trailed by 8 at the start of this quarter. They'll run the time down, last shot of the half.
Reggie Jackson made his first 3 shots in the field, 1 for 4 cents.
Terrence Mann is in for defensive purposes. This is always tough, man. I mean, I know he's a young guy, but he's just basically been on ice for the past hour and a half.
Or week and a half, either way.
Lou Williams out, of course, for defensive purposes. And you can say that they got to get more from Kawhi, but they're double teaming Kawhi right now. The other guys aren't making him pay. So Kawhi has the matchup against Luka. Boxes and elbows for the Clippers. Luka trying to get him in the mix. Gets the drive. Back out. Three-pointer. Kleba. Oh, man. Moxie Kleba just has not had the range from three-point range, but another great look. And Luka Doncic created it by going one-on-one against one of the best, Kawhi Leonard.
And a remarkable 35-19 third quarter for the Mavericks. We thought, this. I was kind of thinking of the narrative in my head of such a victim of circumstance that this series, with Luka getting hurt in Game 3, Porzingis being the late scratch in Game 4 and ejected in Game 1, and now we don't know where this game is going, but we definitely have ourselves more of a series than we thought at halftime.
Yeah, I really hope the Mavs win this because I'm enjoying every second of this series. But much as you want to talk about the offensive performance from the Mavericks, which was wonderful in that quarter, the defense to me is what really was doing it.
Yes, and I thought that their defense did a really good job of making kind of stagnating the Clippers. The Clippers also, some role players missing open shots, and Paul George, not a role player ostensibly, but it has been a real struggle, and I think Luka in particular has done a better job being in position, not contesting, contesting, getting deflections. I thought he's done well. He's done great defensively.
Well, and the double teaming of Kawhi
Yes.
Leonard, the hard double, and the Clippers, they got to get a little bit better at spacing on those plays. There's a bunch of plays where they're double teaming, Leonard is making the pass, and they're not really even getting anything open, any kind of advantage off of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to some questions. What adjustments has Carlisle made this half that you noticed? I mean, the most clear one was the doubling that we just talked about.
Daco Carter, am I looking at future MVP and Luka? This kid is so good, particularly in the regular season. Yeah, I think because he's young enough, he's going to play a lot of minutes still. No real injury history. You
could make an argument. Yeah. He was the best offensive player in the NBA this year.
I've made that argument. I think it's correct.
And he was 20 this year. He's turned 21 since. Like that. The track record of players being like somebody say, oh, he's peaking early. Players who are that good, that young, get better. That's the way this works.
Could Boban have been a dominant center in a past basketball era? I don't think so. I think he still even would have been too slow. I mean, if you want to talk about the George Mikan era, then yeah, probably. But once it got to the point, because like in the 50s, for example, there was just so much running up and down. Or I'm sorry, in the 60s, for example, so much running up and down. I still think it would have been a little bit hard for him. And then if you go into as well a time when he would have had to guard on the perimeter, he couldn't have zoned up as much defense. So he's just too slow, particularly on defense. I think offensively, yeah, he could have been, played more minutes, been like a solid 20 and 10 guy. But I still think the best teams could have put him into difficulty due to his lack of speed, even 30 years ago.
From Doke the Smoke 33, basically, what do you see the Rockets doing the next year plus? I think they're going to keep it together. I think that there might eventually be a bigger move with Harden or Westbrook, but I think what's going to happen is they're going to keep it together. But I think D'Antoni's not going to be their coach anymore, partially because I think he's just sick of being jerked around. And if somebody makes a better offer than the Rockets, no guarantee there, but when Tillman Fertitta is your owner, and now that D'Antoni won't be under contract, that's my guess. Then next year maybe they're a little bit worse, and then you get the reckoning. But I think personnel wise, I think this year is going to be pretty stable. Do games like these hurt Harrell's value this offseason? Yes. Remember that when so few teams have cap space, where you fall in a team's priority list is so important, and anytime Harrell falls on any of those lists, it matters.
So they just throw it away here on the first possession of the half. JaMychal Green, I guess, was going to go screen away for Lou Williams in the corner, and they threw him the pass for some reason. Luka getting that left ankle worked on. This is the critical portion of the game here, Danny. They got to score. Trey Burke is going to be out here, which he was not for this group earlier, and we're going to get a kickball, reset the shot clock to 14, with Dallas leading by 8.
And this might be a shorter stretch in the fourth quarter than it was in the second, but it's still going to be an incredibly important one. As a point of reference, actually, I'll get that for the next break.
There's Curry going right at Lou Williams, who was upset, I guess, that there wasn't enough help. Yeah, they're doing a little Theragun on the bottom of Luka's foot there. Oh, nice pass. Lou Williams, what a look underneath. You didn't see that angle at all, but JaMychal Green gets fouled underneath. Curry clubs him.
So if you want to get a sense of the potential timing here, Luka sat until the 8:12 mark of the second quarter. So that's about 4 minutes. We'll see how the timeout usage is here, but each team only has 3, so I'm guessing it's going to be probably pretty similar to that here. So that gives the Clippers about 3.5 more minutes to get some real work in, try to get this margin. Low single digits would be my target. Though, I mean, they outplayed starters versus starters. The Clippers outplayed the Mavericks in the first half, just not in the third quarter.
Hey, you make a good point about the timeouts. With both teams having made big runs in this game, each coach has already used their discretionary timeout. So you basically can't take a timeout other than the 2 automatics if you want to have 2 going in under the 3-minute mark. Here's Hardaway, rejected by Harrell. He's had a couple of decent blocks here. Throw it ahead. Green ahead of the field. Kleber erases it.
Great hustle by Moxie Kleber there. And reminder that these are the minutes that we thought Harrell could be best utilized, and he is looking more comfortable right now.
Yeah, and Doc Rivers, the moment Luka Doncic comes back in the game, he has to go back to Zubats.
And remember that when Harrell's playing these minutes, I talked about Zubats' minute total. He's at 21 right now.
Yeah, Lou gets a nice, easy play there into the lane. Harrell with a good screen. Those two, of course, a devastating pick-and-roll combination. Burke creates the space on Reggie Jackson. And Reggie Jackson, Lou Williams, and Landry Shamet have taken turns getting abused by Burke and Seth Curry here. Now Lou right back. That'll do for Lou Williams. He's brought the Clippers within 5. If he scores or assists on every possession, you can live with his defense. Now Burke trying to go at Jackson. Curry blows by Paul George, gets him in the air, and one. Seth Curry, what a move.
Wow, and what a finish.
And yeah, Paul George has been abused a number of times here by Curry on these closeouts.
Right, and George, there was a stretch during these first round where he was shaky on offense, but at least he was competing defensively, but he's had some real problems in this one.
Yeah, the confidence that Rick Carlisle imbues in guys like Trey Burke, J.J. Barea, Jalen Brunson, Seth Curry. He has been known as a guy who's tough on point guards, but if I were a point guard, I would want to play for Rick Carlisle because he gets a lot out of these guys in the end. So Curry right back to erase that Lou Williams three-pointer. They double team out on the floor against Lou this time. He gets right past everyone. Missed the layup, though, and the Mavs controls. Change up there of the pick-and-roll defense by the Mavs. Burke gets Williams on his back. Into the lane. His floater does not drop, but Kleber's right there. No, we're going to stay here as Harrell committed the loose ball foul underneath.
Yeah, he grabbed Kleber's arm and tried to Harrell was, I think, losing his balance, and that's foul.
So Leonard coming back. Wow.
Fouls early in the fourth quarter, something I talk about a lot because they end up being really important, especially when committed by backups who don't care as much about it because they're not going to be in the game.
So
but
now
yeah, Kawhi
is going to be on pace for 42 minutes here. Drive by Hardaway right at Montrezl Harrell again, and Harrell deserves credit for his improved rim protection this season. over past years, but clearly not at the same level right now after that long stint outside of the bubble due to a family issue. Kawhi working on Finney-Smith. Goes into the lane, and he's fouled by Finney-Smith. Seth Curry trying to say it should have been a jump ball, and Curry was trying to dig down. So it looks like Doc Rivers is going back to some of his best units here. George, Leonard, Lou Williams, Marcus Morris, and Harrell. And Kawhi Leonard may have to bring the Clips home here.
I think he will. I mean, especially with Paul George really struggling. I'm going to mention Paul George's line again. 7 points, 2 of 11 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 fouls, 2 turnovers.
And Zubats is coming back here. Luka
Zubats
looks like he's starting to... Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Zubats is +7 in a game that his team trails in now by 9? Yeah, 9.
Luka looks like he's trying to get warmed up again to come back in. Couple of free throws from Leonard. It's an 8-point game. They want to screen away for Curry here to get it against Shamet. Screen roll coming from Kid Gilchrist. Curry gets the man on his back, creates the space. Seth Curry again, and they just can't find any guards who can guard Trey Burke and Seth Curry right now.
Yeah, and Curry's almost doubling up Paul George in points right now, coming off the bench.
Zubats underneath, rejected by Kleber. He sprung off the floor. Hardaway pushing it. He'll pull up. Yes, sir. Tim Hardaway, 12-point Dallas lead. What a turn it's been since that second quarter.
And remember, they were -11 in the minutes that Luka sat in the second, +4, 13-9 right now. And remember, Kawhi Leonard has been on the floor for the last minute or so.
Now, I'll be interested to see for Carlisle, is he going to go back to Luka? Luka is on 32 minutes right now. Probably try and buy him another couple of minutes, I would say. But he's got to avoid, in my opinion, the, hey, the bench unit is playing well, we're going to keep rolling with you guys, as opposed to just still bringing your best player in and really going for the kill. Because you get to a point where you keep holding him out, you hold him out. It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, you hold him out, we're not going to put him back in until we give up, 3 buckets in a row or something, and then you've given up a big portion of the lead already. Why not just prophylactically put Luka back in?
I agree with it, especially because with a 12-point margin, there's a distinct chance that you can knock the game out of proportion and knock the game out of range, and then you won't need Luka anymore anyway. So give him like 4 or 5 minutes now, and also there could be a lot of timeouts down the end, pretty sure.
Yeah, and this is the game, of course, that you have to win. Now,
yes.
The Mavs have had a sorry performance in close games. That's normalized a little bit here in the bubble, but certainly there might be a little bit of a concern about getting into a close game with this Clippers group and Kawhi Leonard. So if you can, just keep it out of reach. Obviously, that's not exactly the most ridiculous advice. Let's take some questions before I say some other really stupid cliche.
From Peter Wiggin, if Pat Bev and Zubats are really this important to the Clippers, are they really a championship level team? Yes. Are you wondering if starting caliber players are important to a team? Always. They always are. I mean, we've seen the Warriors in other years have trouble, like depth portended some of their real trouble. Happens all the time. And these are starting level players. And you and I have talked at length about how Patrick Beverley is so important to the Clippers' defensive identity because their other guards aren't good defenders.
Yeah, since he's Peter Wiggin is commenting online, I'm surprised he didn't just go with the LAC pseudonym instead.
Let's see. Where's Paul George? He's out there for most of this. He's there.
Yeah, he doesn't look terrible, right? Like, he's getting decent looks. They're just not going down. Defensively, I thought he looked good early in this game, but yeah, he hasn't had the impact. I guess the question is, if you're Doc Rivers, how are you going to deal with these small guards who are killing you right now? Jackson, Shamet, Lou Williams can't guard these guys. Are you going to go big, try and switch everything? I mean,
I think you do.
This might actually be a good moment, Danny, without Luka in, to go with Marcus Morris at center. And then
Yeah,
when Luka comes
or
back
to
in,
Michael.
yeah, and switch everything, and then go back to Zubats once Luka comes back in. That'll juice your offense as well. And if they want to try this double teaming of Leonard, if you've got 5 shooters on the floor, it makes it a lot harder to do that. Luka continuing to try and get warm. Zubats does remain on the floor. Same group, it looks like, for the Clippers. Leonard. Curry's probably going to come with the double here from the elbow. There it is. Swing it around. Morris, they close it down. No advantage gain again. Morris attacking Burke. Kleber with the help, but it drops in. They did get a little bit of an advantage with Morris and the size advantage against Burke. Back to 10. Screen away for Curry. He's shoved in the back by George. Wanted the foul call and complains to the referee. Burke stopped by George. And no, we're going to get a loose ball foul on Kleber. Oh, not a good foul. That's a 5th on Maxi Kleber. And that is a very dubious call. And here's Luka coming back in now.
I think they might have given that foul to not Maxi Kleber. Because he's only listed as having 4. So
okay, well maybe I was wrong on the number that he had. I thought he had 4 already. Here's Leonard against Kid Gilchrist, who's returned now along with Luka. George crosses up Leonard. That's the right play. Bucket, corner 3, 7-point game. George with some nice alacrity in that move against Luka to force the help. And they help off the strong side corner. That's not where the help's supposed to come from. Luka swinging it to Kleber. He'll try Morris. Nothing doing. Here's the drive from Kid Gilchrist. Not his shot.
That's about what I expected on a Michael Kid Gilchrist drive.
Kleber against Leonard. Leonard with the jumper. Kleber forcing a miss. That was the chance to bring it to 5.
We haven't seen the Clippers fully lock down much on defense without Patrick Beverley on the team. This is a huge couple moments because then they might not need as much offensively.
Pick and pop. Here's Curry. 3 misses. I thought he missed a chance to attack there off the dribble instead, but they tried to involve Lou Williams. They're not going to switch that, so the pop man Curry is going to be open. Double team coming here. Oh, Leonard getting along the baseline against Kid Gilchrist, and he's run into.
And we don't get to see the total, but I think that's a couple early fouls on the Mavericks. We'll see how close the Clippers are to the bonus, eventually.
We could also just count ourselves. Maybe we should start
it's hard. We're doing too many other things, Nate. It's not realistic. Oh yeah, that's 14 fouls on the Mavericks. I can see it on the bubble, the picture in the back.
There's Leonard missing another jumper. He's had a couple of chances to cut it to 5. Luka wants it back against Morris. Lost it briefly. Kleber trying to post up underneath. Luka did not see him. Now Luka attacking Morris. Crossing him up. Gets by him into the lane. Stepping back. Gets his own rebound. Finishes. Luka Doncic with a few words for the Clippers after that display. And so it is now that Luka's back in, they're going without Zubac, and so that's why Luka's going to the ISO game. He knows there's not going to be help at the rim. Now here's the swing to Curry. Nice close by Shamet. Curry just going right at him, gets him in the air, foul, and he'll shoot free throws. And I don't like this lineup for the Clippers against this Dallas group. They're too powerful offensively. Shamet and Lou Williams out there give you too many places to attack. Luka can get into the lane and make plays like this where you're not getting the help. I think this was the unit without Lukic.
There's absolutely no one to clean up messes.
Right.
So you have guys that will create messes and then no one to clean them up. It's a big problem.
So they actually...
And the Clippers...
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And the Clippers, this lineup is good offensively, but it's not so good that you're going to dominate Dallas. Dallas has a great offense.
Well, and Kleber can give you some size defensively. He can guard Leonard, but he also gives you a little bit of big man play as well, which the Clippers are lacking. Couple of free throws from Seth Curry. 11-point game. It's getting late early here for the Clippers now.
Shamet nearly tried to inbound the ball without ever stepping out. That would have been a problem.
Finney Smith is in to guard George. Pick and roll, Lou Williams into the corner. Good close down by Burke. Lou trying to get to his left. Cut off again by Burke. Who is this guy defensively? Tough shot. Rebound by Marcus Morris. Nice play. He beat Luka that time. And with Kleba way out on the floor guarding Leonard, when that shot goes up, Kleba's got to run in and get involved in the rebounding action. I know he's got a lot to do, but if you're the big man, that's what you have to do as well. Luka setting up the three. Finney-Smith in the corner. Offensive foul or loose ball foul as Kleba went to the rebound. Morris shoved him.
I'm going to look at, I think that's Marcus Morris's third. That's his fifth. So that could potentially be important as well, especially if Doc wants to. Maybe necessity will be the mother of invention, and they'll actually go back to Zubats because they kind of have to.
And something to keep in mind here as well, Danny, with no extra timeouts, and the Clippers already took one here as well. They're automatic. With no extra timeouts to go down the end, Doc Rivers is limited in whether he can challenge here or not, because he could lose a timeout and not even win the challenge and only have one going under 3 minutes.
That's a great point.
Carlisle is in similar situation, though, because he has one more automatic that he owes the game. They'll switch this. Kleba tried to roll to the rim. Luka has the matchup against Morris. He's feeling it. Morris cutting him off. Luka has to go to the Dirk fade. Kleba keeping it alive only briefly. Lou Williams, semi-transition. He's dangerous here. He gets past Finney-Smith into the lane, and he scores. Timeout, Rick Carlisle. That's his last automatic here. So this will be interesting, Danny. I don't think we're going to have a stoppage under 3 minutes now.
We might not have any stoppages. And remember, coaches are really reluctant to use timeouts after the 3 minute threshold as well. We might have like a 4 minute stretch here where there are no timeouts called.
Yeah, now there'll be free throws. They'll be out of bounds. Guys can catch their breath a little bit. But
if Lou Williams is on the floor, there will be fouls.
Let's hit some questions here.
Does the Sixers getting swept end whatever remaining belief you have that a center could be the leading scorer on a winning team? No, not at all. I mean, this is a different squad. And remember, they were missing one of their best players and lost to a damn good team. I mean, the Celtics were – I don't have them in my Tier 1 championship contenders. But no, it doesn't change the way I think about the structure of the league. Now, I think it's hard for a team built around a center to necessarily – like an offensive center to win a championship. But this series isn't an indictment of that. That's a completely separate thought.
Is Landry Shamet too flammable on D against playoff teams?
I mean, probably to you would have him as an expected closer of games. But remember, he did pretty well last year against the Warriors, so I don't think it's all of that, and he could be in a rotation. I feel comfortable in that.
What is the win probability right now? 82% with the Mavericks having the ball. According to inpredictable.com. Now, inpredictable.com does not actually account for team quality in that. This is just, if you have two average teams. So 7-point lead, 5:34 left, probably about 12 possessions apiece. They got to make up 7 points. So it's really, right now, it's all about the Mavs continuing to score. If they can do that, then they make it really hard on the Clippers. If you don't, maybe you're giving them chances in transition, you're turning the ball over. That helps their offense as well. So if the Mavs can just continue to put the ball in the bucket, they can take care of this game. And this is not a great defensive unit, I don't think, for the Clippers trying to defend them right now.
From Doke the Smoke 33 on Twitch, in retrospect, was it wise for the Rockets to ship all their role players to the Clippers for Chris Paul? Yes, absolutely. Even if Chris Paul wasn't a perfect fit with Russell Westbrook, he was a huge upgrade. They were able to find other role players to make this work. Now, there were some misfires in that quest, but they couldn't have gotten another Chris Paul level player really any other way. So it wasn't as bad a move for the Clippers, but remember, Chris Paul looks like he was going to leave anyway, so they got some real help. But from the Rockets' perspective, I think it was pretty damn close to a home run.
All right, we're back here now. Really
we can do this one. We can do this one quickly from White Squall. Is this year's Clippers team defensively better or worse than last year's Raptors? Worse. I mean, last year's Raptors team was nasty defensively.
That's one of the greatest defenses of all time. That was an awesome defensive team. Yeah, it's not even close, really.
No, it's not. And like the Clippers have theoretical potential, but remember those Raptors teams defended the rim really well. They had a lot of options. Like losing one player, they still had a lot of it. It's not close. Your League Pass stream is ahead of the NBA cast. If you are ahead of us, you're going to try to find a way to slow it down. If we are ahead of you, use YouTube.
Yeah, you can pause it.
And some League Pass things have the functionality of a pause button. Hopefully, there's a way for you to slow
on
that feedback.
desktop, you definitely can, I think. All right, so here we
So.
go. They go right at Lou Williams here. Luka gets into the lane, goes to the floater. A little short, though. That's a decent look. Leonard did well to contest it, though. Now Leonard has Luka, swings it to Morris. They want to post up Paul George against Curry. Curry tries to draw the offensive foul. That leaves Morris open for the three, but the Clippers can't take advantage. They have struggled on some of these open threes.
Yeah, the role players are really not hitting threes so
Here's
far.
Curry. Stop and go on George. Tip from Finney-Smith, but it doesn't go down. Mavs have had some chances here. Reggie Jackson is in. Heel drive and great defense by Hardaway without fouling. Lou Williams got the steal, though, and takes it away from Luka. 5-point game. What a swing that is. Luka couldn't believe it. He thought he got fouled, but he got fooled by Lou Williams.
And something to file away here, Mavericks are shooting early in the shot clock. Some of them have been good looks.
And now it's going to be another foul. Loose ball foul, it looks like, as Luka, this is a problem for him sometimes, Danny. He gets distracted by the referees. Remember, he just gave up a three to his man, Marcus Morris. And yeah, he definitely got fouled there, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, remember that was huge in game one. He was complaining about a call. Marcus Morris hits a three, who was his man, and that was functionally game over.
Yeah, and so he then just gets a turnover over the backbreaker going for that loose ball, and now the Clippers quick position for a 4-0 run here if Morris hits this next free throw, and we got a whole new game.
Yeah,
Dallas was up 7 with the ball. They missed 2 pretty decent looks, and then the Luka turnover that immediately led to free throws for the Clippers. Man, I guess 2 Luka turnovers if we're being accurate.
Yeah.
8-0 run. Wow. Kleber at range. Hits Luka on the flare screen. He's got Reggie Jackson. Breaks his ankles. Oh, man. Reggie Jackson has some articles of clothing on the ground right now. Here's the drive by Williams. He gets right past, and that's not good enough defense from the Mavericks. And we're seeing with Kleber now guarding Kawhi Leonard, the Clips should be able to get to the basket much more than they have so far. I actually might consider putting Kleber on someone like Marcus Morris instead. Now Luka has the matchup against Reggie Jackson. Gets into the lane against him. Finding Kleber. Can he finally hit one? Oh, in and out for the Mavs.
So close.
Now George in transition against Finney-Smith. Crossover. Good help comes from Curry as Lou Williams wasn't in a position to shoot it. George, 0 pass possession, and that's not good enough. Not good enough. If you're 2 for 11, you can't be taking that shot. You got to get something going to the rim at a minimum.
Yeah, reminiscent of Victor Oladipo in yesterday's game.
Luka, using him as the screener. Now he's got Lou Williams on. They're going to double team here. Watch this. No, he steps back. I should have tried him. And he hits the 3 regardless. Luka Doncic cleaning up his own mess, and they're back up 7. Now Kawhi on the quick drive. Kleber, great defense. It doesn't matter. And they said that it should have been an offensive foul. The Mavs bench going completely insane. But to no avail.
Gotten a replay. And Luka, now Kleber, you have to shake off that if you think it was a bad call. Still a 5-point lead. Get something here.
Hardaway, he's going to try Reggie Jackson. Pulls up over him. Tim Hardaway Jr. hits the 3, and Reggie Jackson, I have no idea why he's out there right now. I guess it's because they want to have Morris at center as Luka cuts off George again. Here's the drive from Lou Williams. Has to pass it out. Jackson closed down. Tough step back into the corner. Whoa, what a shot. Not a good shot in terms of the decision making, but that keeps the Clips in contact here still.
But it's a 5-point margin with about 5 possessions going each way, so they still have to get pretty close to a perfect game here.
Kawhi bothering Luka. Reggie Jackson, they don't want to switch this. Luka going to a terrible step back. That's just not good enough from Luka. Like you need to attack there. Now Kawhi has a 3 open. Oh no! A 3 for Kawhi Leonard. It's all gone wrong again for Dallas, and it's a 2-point game.
And Dallas, Luka does that terrible step back. No Maverick gets back in transition defense. I think it was only Trey Burke that got back, and then the Clippers get the rebound. Reggie Jackson throws it ahead, and no one is there.
That's a great pass from Reggie Jackson falling out of bounds too.
Absolutely.
So, and it all started though with Luka. Okay, I get it. You're feeling it. You hit a couple of tough step backs, but they're in a conventional pick and roll coverage now, right? They're not switching. So just have the guy set the screen and then just go around it and go right to the basket. There's nobody there. Or you hit the roll man. Like he wasn't aggressive enough and just let them get through without switching, without any kind of a attack. And then you take a tough step back over one of the best defenders in the NBA. So we're seeing the full gamut here for Luka. He is 20 years old. He's got a lot of clutch experience. He's a great player, but he also is not quite there yet in terms of his consistency mentally.
Yeah, and you think about how, some of the shot making, drilling that 3 over Reggie is ridiculous. But if they were a little bit more stable, kept things a little bit tighter, this game would already be over.
So they still have a decent position now, though. Going to actually take down the Twitter. Where is that? There we go. Yeah, take that Twitter thread down in case it's ahead of us. We don't want to ruin it for everybody. So let's see. Are they going to go after Reggie Jackson again? Yeah, that's what they do. They try to get the Hardaway Jr. roll, and I think they should be setting this screen closer to the basket so that you can hit that guy on the roll more easily. And the guy setting the screen has to do a better job of giving Luka an angle to hit him if they're going to be playing this more conventional hedge and recover style.
Well, and also that gives Luka a more makeable pull-up if they're gonna try something different there.
Yeah. Luka engaging Jackson. They do get the switch now. Can he get something other than the step back? Hardaway is open. Nice close from Leonard. Oh, he got him on the arm. So Luka, just the quick pass there. That's the right pass with Kawhi Leonard standing at the elbow trying to prevent the drive. Hardaway is a great shooter. Leonard gets over there. Oh, that is a terrible call. That's high five contact. That's not a foul.
And honestly, this is one where you consider as Doc Rivers, even though it has a huge risk.
You have to challenge here. Absolutely. They have to challenge here. This is, even with 2 timeouts left. Oh, and he missed the first. But yeah, that is a missed opportunity. Doc Rivers is saying high five. That's what it was. So challenge it.
Unless they don't have their challenge left, but I think they do.
Yeah, I don't remember them using a challenge. Challenge. So there's another one from Hardaway. This is key here to give them the 2-possession lead. Who would have thought that Tim Hardaway would be playing huge playoff minutes when he was involved in that trade from the Knicks?
The Knicks didn't.
So Kleba is matched up against Leonard. He's going to try an ISO, getting into the lane. Shoves off, no call, and he creates the space. 2-point game once more. Dallas has got to keep scoring here because this is a very difficult unit to defend. Leonard, wary of the screen. Finney-Smith is going to set it, I believe, guarded by Lou Williams. Lou is out on him. Finney-Smith can't get open. Kawhi guarding Luka. Kawhi still hounding him. Luka in the lane. Tough floater. Good defense by the Clippers. They avoid the switch. Dallas has got to get better at getting that switch or attacking it.
Well, and Finney-Smith actually crossed paths again with Luka, which made it even easier for Kawhi to get back on Luka.
Lou Williams over Curry. Draws the foul, and Lou Williams can give the LA Clippers a lead. Seth Curry, just a lack of discipline. He's that deep. You got to probably just let Lou Williams shoot that one.
Yeah, and to exacerbate it, first of all, it's Lou Williams, so you know that if you jump, and he doesn't shoot, it's a foul. But also jumping forward that far, it made it an automatic. And Curry, yeah, you won. If that's the shot that Lou Williams is taking, congratulations, you won it. There's a minute left in the game. You would have been presumably up 2 points, getting the ball back. Instead, now it's Lou Williams potentially giving the Clippers the lead. Terrible, terrible foul.
Lou hits the second to tie the game, and now those clutch Mavericks issues, they got to come up with something better here, Danny, to either get the switch or actually, I don't know, exploit the conventional pick and roll coverage. Clips are doing a good job. Oh, he missed it. Rebound Kleba. It was kept alive by the Mavs. So the Mavs got to get the 2-for-1 here with this being a tie game. Hardaway, little Iverson cut here. They set the screen. Finney-Smith was open. They missed him. Kleba. Now Doncic has Morris. Doncic has to create. Can't get the shot. Curry is on the drive. He throws it up. Now they got to get back. No, shot clock violation. And
they blew the 2-for-1.
Yeah, big problems there again. And this Clippers defense is causing problems for the Mavs. To me, they just haven't had the chance. They haven't found the roll man. That's the guy who's open on that play. Finney-Smith was open for a pick and pop three, and Luka did not see him.
Okay, so let's start with this first question. Who's on the floor for each of these teams? Let's say it's functionally a defense-only possession for the Clippers because you can get a timeout. A defense-only possession for the Mavericks. Who do you have on the floor?
Yeah, you probably got to go MKG here, Finney-Smith, Luka, Kleba, and maybe Seth Curry would probably be my group there. Or maybe it's Hardaway, actually. Probably Hardaway to get a little more size.
Hardaway over Curry. I mean, Curry's had some good moments, but I would go that way as well. And then for the Clippers, you can think of it as an offense-only possession. Though if I were Dallas, I would consider going no timeout if you get a stop early before the buzzer.
Yeah, they won't, though. They're going to run the time down.
They're going to run it down. Yeah, they'll run it down to like 1 second left, and it takes more than a second for the shot to go. So then for the Clippers, Lou Will, Paul George, and Kawhi, obviously. Then Morris, I guess.
And maybe Shamet as a shooter.
Yeah.
They'll probably go Reggie Jackson, though. He's made some shots today.
He has.
I might consider Seth Curry to guard Lou Williams too. He's done a decent enough job on him. But yeah, I mean we're seeing the Mavs collapse here. And Kawhi with the big shot, the clear push off there on Kleba, that was not called. Probably not going to get that called at this point in the game. So Kawhi Leonard will have a chance. What are they going to run? I would think they might go with a small pick and roll with Lou Williams setting it. So it's Hardaway at Lou Williams. It is. Yeah, they took Curry off the floor. They've got size. You predicted it perfectly. 1 second differential now. Morris is going to get the screen. It looks like they want to involve Luka here. No, it's Kawhi setting the screen. They'll switch that. They get it to Kawhi. 6 seconds against Hardaway. Do they double here? They don't. Kawhi's going to have to take it late clock over what a shot, and it's not there. Rebounded by the Mavs.
They're trying to argue that they got the timeout called before the shot clock expired. I mean, I think there might be like 0.2 left. I don't think there's enough for them to get anything here.
Yeah, I don't know why Leonard didn't go a little bit earlier, to his right.
It's something you and I talk about a lot. When a team is trying to get the last shot of the game, trying to get all zeros, they attack less aggressively because they don't want to shoot too early, and that led to a much worse shot, going back to like Karis LeVert in that big Nets bubble game against the Blazers like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, although they were actually down in that one.
That's true.
But yeah, this one, I thought that Hardaway did a nice job defending it, but Kawhi could have attacked a little bit earlier to try to get something. I liked the play call to get the matchup of Hardaway Jr. onto Kawhi. I had flashbacks to Kawhi going to his right. Man, I thought that was going down from Leonard, but it was a pretty darn good contest without fouling. And yeah, I mean, this is like 0.2, 0.1 at best.
Yeah, so let's lay out some of the foul situations here who could potentially be relevant. Finney-Smith and Marcus Morris are the only guys with 5. So if this goes to overtime, with 4, Paul George, Maxi Kleba are the only guys, and then everybody else, you could potentially get into trouble, but you're not there yet. And Luka's played 41 minutes. Zubac's 22. He basically did not come on the floor during that closing stretch because they went small, which makes it even more egregious that Doc Rivers didn't have him on the floor before.
So what is this, 0.2? They're going to put Boban on the floor, it looks like. You don't have time for a catch and shoot.
Incidentally here, like, I would actually try to get this ball to Kleba. I think he has the better quick jump. But Boban could do a tip.
Yeah, I mean, like the back door. I mean, this is the Stan Van Gundy knows what you got to do in this situation if you're the Clippers. Because all you can do is a tip. You have to be at 0.4 or more for a catch and shoot.
Shout out to Derek Fisher.
So they're not going with the formal wall approach, it looks like. Let's see what they do here. Zubac is guarding Boban. Boban or Kleba has to be the target here, you would think. They try to get in, and Kleba, they throw it way up. Ooh, he jumped too early. That
could have worked.
He was there.
And that pass was from Luka, actually had the right angle on it. He could have just tapped it. It might not have gone in, but... So one other way of thinking about this, from going back to Unpredictable, Dallas was ahead by 11 points with 6:14 to go. Unpredictable had them as a 92.8% favorite to win this game. Now, we're going to overtime.
So I'm interested to see. I think that the Clippers are probably going to dictate the matchups here. Are they going to stick with Morris at center? That's what made that comeback for them. And if I'm Dallas, I might want to have Luka. If they can't get the switch off this pick and roll, I think number one, they should set the screen in a different way. They're setting it kind of more designed to get the switch. Well, they're not going to switch. So set a flat ball screen, basically, where you set it directly behind the guy who's defending Luka, and then let Luka go downhill, let him attack the guy trying to step up on the hedge immediately off the dribble, instead of when you're going sideways, you can kind of get strung out a little bit, and these roll men that the Mavs have aren't really threatening that much on the pass. So try to set the screen so that Luka can just go right away and attack, or conversely, just let Luka try Kawhi Leonard one-on-one and see what happens, but have him actually go early enough that, because yes, Kawhi Leonard is a great defender, but Luka's a great offensive player, and we've seen that the help for the Clippers is pretty inadequate with this group out there.
A question from William Keating: does Luka attract a free agent? I don't know. I mean, it's been a real Dallas does not appear to be a premium, let's call it market, even though there are players that make their home there in the offseason. But I would say, maybe not as a Giannis level player, though I think Giannis would actually be an amazing fit with this Mavericks team. I think if your goal is to win a championship, a max level player joining forces with Porzingis and Luka, considering how young both of those guys are, I think it's a really good play.
I mean, if I were Giannis, I would very seriously consider going there. If my sole goal is to win as many championships as possible, I mean, what an incredible group that would be. Such a great fit among those three guys as well, with Porzingis spacing out, Luka, Giannis, pick and roll. All right, here we go. And it is going to be advantage Mavs here with the tip with Kleba. Both teams going with those small groups. And the Mavs just got to get a better plan offensively. That's where they've lost this, has been offensively. Morris actually wins the tip. And Clips with a chance to strike first. Lou Williams sets the screen. Kawhi creating the space. Kleba's in front of him. Nice reverse pivot by Kawhi to get open.
The footwork on that. Oh, beautiful. And now we can see if Dallas can generate anything in offense.
Yeah, if they're not going back into the icebox here, they actually try and create something. They want Luka in the post. They're going to maybe try and screen away for some shooters. Luka creating the space on Leonard. That's a good shot, though. I like them going for a different approach. Now Leonard's in transition, though. He's picked up by Kleba. Oh, Morris is open in the corner. They missed him. Kawhi is feeling it. Kleba did well. Nice play by Burke. He knew the backdoor pass was coming, and he deflected it. Now Luka throws it ahead. Burke. Nice job by Lou Williams getting back.
Yeah, and Paul George, too. Paul George got the roll, man. I think that was Finney-Smith on the backside.
Luka stumbled over Morris. Burke going to try and attack Lou Williams. This is the other thing they could go to also would have been just go one-on-one with Burke against Lou Williams. Here's Burke on the drive. Kawhi dismisses his shot out of bounds.
Yeah, that's not the ISO matchup to attack.
Yeah, but
Trey
the clock
Burke
was late. They had to. Great block by Kawhi. 3.6 to work with. This one is probably going to be for Hardaway, I think. Yep, it is, but it's not open. Instead, it's right underneath to Finney-Smith going at Lou Williams. What a play call there. They got the switch, and Finney-Smith just cut right in on Lou Williams. Terrible defense.
Yeah. I'm not even sure that was a play. I think that was Finney-Smith being like, holy shit, I'm probably the best option.
They want to screen Lou Williams for Kawhi. Same play again. Kawhi gets the space off that screen, and Kawhi is just working into his spots right now. This small unit of the Clippers is now flummoxing the Mavs defensively a little bit. I think they could go with try to get Burke going against Lou Williams as well. Here's a three from Hardaway. That's off Kleba. Rebounded by Finney-Smith. Three from Burke. Yes, goes down. 1 point Dallas lead.
And so great to shoot that with no hesitation. There was a closeout coming from Lou Williams. Get it off, get it in.
Doc Rivers exhorting his team to get into the front court faster and not mope after that shot. Kleba trying to deny Leonard. Now they get it to him. Where's the help going to come from here? I think they should go with the straight double. That's what they're doing. Kawhi along the baseline. Swings it out. Reggie Jackson, good switch by Kleba onto Lou Williams. Into the lane. Has to float it up over Kleba. Great rebound by the Mavs, and Lou Williams commits the loose ball foul. I like the double team there. That's what they can do to change this. That double team's worked all game.
Well, remember, like that's how Dallas got back into it at the beginning of the third quarter. They started doing that double and daring the Clippers support players to beat them. They kind of went away from that during the fourth quarter flail.
Yeah, and they've done a really good job. Well, because they didn't want to give up threes when they were up.
Yeah.
Doncic has Williams now. They force him to switch off the ball, which works better. This is an advantage matchup for Luka. Kleba is open. His three over Morris. And Maxi Kleba, oh, it just bounces out. Kleba can't buy one. Now it's George against Hardaway. Can George get into the mix? Yeah, he blows by him. Elbows Hardaway in the gut. And the Clippers again lead by one. Paul George finally. But the going is so much easier now with the floor spread out like this. And Kleba is their only help defender. Now Doncic setting up Kleba. Burke, he'll attack baseline. He's got Morris in the mix. Gets past him on the baseline. Oh, Morris just bothered him enough from behind. Burke can't believe he missed it. Clippers with a chance to widen the lead. George feeling it against Luka. Crossover. Goes into the lane. Easy layup. No, he blew it.
Oh. So now I think Dallas should attack quickly, but they're so tired.
Yeah, there have not been many timeouts. They're going to try and involve Lou Williams. And Finney-Smith was open. Luka just missed him. Luka attacking George. Step back. Way, way short. But Burke with the rebound. He's got the shot on the baseline. And it drops. 1 point Dallas lead.
Air balls always help the offense, if it stays in bounds. That's my theory.
Man, these guys are exhausted. You're right, Danny. Here's Lou Williams giving it a try. He goes right to the rim and one. And this is, I really think that Rick Carlisle should consider switching up the matchups. Go Finney-Smith on Leonard. You're going to double team anyway. And then have Kleba available on someone like Marcus Morris to help just a little bit more because Kleba is just stuck on Leonard. And they have, the Clippers are just getting layups at the rim with no help from anybody right now.
And that's also a really no-hope foul by Trey Burke. I know Lou Williams had beaten you and you feel badly, but he wasn't going to steal that ball, wasn't going to stop the layup, and now Lou Williams gets an extra point. And instead of it being a 1 point margin, it's a 2 point margin.
Let's see what Dallas has here. I like that post-up they ran earlier. Maybe they could get that. They switched that. Great job by Leonard. Here's Finney-Smith going at Lou Williams. Lou tries to draw the charge. Swinging around. Luka on the drive. Goes into Morris. Good defense. Better offense by Luka to tie it. 50 seconds left, and the Clippers call for time. What do you think of that timeout? Is that a good timeout?
I don't think either team is going to change. I think it's probably not an offense-defense situation, and they weren't going to get any sort of advantage in transition. I'm largely okay with it. Both teams are gassed. I don't know if either team is more tired than the other.
I think the reason that it's most defensible is with 50 seconds, you want to make sure that you shoot this one about 35 to 32, get the 2-for-1. That's really massive now. You should be in an advantage position, tie game, with 50
something the
seconds left in the
Mavericks
ball.
didn't do at the end of regulation.
Yeah, that killed them. That was really pretty difficult. And credit the Clippers defense. They have been locked in on this, and I've criticized them for not getting it to the roll man. That time Kawhi did an awesome job. He saw Luka pick up his dribble to try and pass it to Finney-Smith, and he backs off and gets his hand in the passing lane to prevent that pass. And Dallas's offense, it's been much less orderly than the Clippers. The Clippers are getting to the basket for these layups every time. Not so for Dallas.
Somebody asked if we show gameplay. The answer is no. We do not pay billions of dollars for the rights. If you want to watch us do the League Pass games that we do, when those are available, then you do get us with the game. But yeah.
Yeah, that's probably not going to be until next year, it's looking like at this point.
Yeah.
But all right, here we go. Let's reset it with 50 seconds left. Presumably, the Clippers will run the time down here and try to take this with under 35 seconds. Get about no worse than a 6-second differential. George brings it up against Finney-Smith. Kleba has that matchup against Kawhi. They're going to double here. No, they're going right away. They don't try for the 2-for-1, and it's short. Now Dallas, can they get their own 2-for-1? No, they're not pushing it. Come on. Shoot that. Nope. They blew it again.
Second time.
So the Clips do get the 2-for-1. They didn't earn it, though. Now it's Reggie Jackson guarding Luka. Luka into the lane. Gets the extension and scores for a 2-point lead once more. No help at all. And the Clippers used their last timeout. That is 40 points for Luka Doncic. And he was able to beat Reggie Jackson. They gave up the switch very easily. Interestingly enough, they haven't switched it generally when it's been Lou Williams. They switch it with Jackson, maybe because they got him in a semi-transition situation. But, I mean, you got to send help there at this point. He's going to just score like that.
Yeah, and Lucas, he just out-muscled Marcus Morris to get a shot around the basket. You think that's going to be a problem against Reggie Jackson?
And if you're Marcus Morris, you're guarding Maxi Kleba. Maxi Kleba hasn't made a 3-point shot this entire series. And it doesn't matter. A 2 versus a 3 doesn't really matter as much right now.
As a good shot versus a bad shot.
Yeah, it's just simply binary of do you score or not when the game's tied like that. You almost should be happier giving up a 3 in some ways because there's just a less of a chance it's going to go in. It's really more about whether it goes in versus how many points it's worth because you're in a massive underdog situation anyway if they score at all.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So now the Clippers, did they go early here? Probably,
yes, I
right?
think you do.
So they can foul, see if they can get something quick.
That is a consequence of not having any timeouts left, though.
Yeah.
Some of that, eventually the foul game will come back to burn them because if depending on what the score is, because they won't be able to advance the ball at some point.
I'd like to see Shamet out here instead of Reggie Jackson because a 3-pointer statistically is kind of what you want here. Down 2, a 3-pointer puts you in better position. Mathematically, if you consider the possibility of tying the game and then they can either come back and win it or you go into another overtime.
Well, and if you tie it, they're taking the last shot if you go early.
All right, here we go. Kid Gilchrist is in. After the timeout, they were able to change up their personnel. Kawhi going at Kid Gilchrist. Help comes from Cleveland. Morris has a 3 to take the lead, and he does!
Wow.
And
so now Dallas calls a timeout, and now the Clippers can go offense, defense. Whatever the hell their defense lineup is, they're going to have it on the floor here.
Wow. Yeah, they'll be able to get Lou Williams off the floor, Reggie Jackson off the floor.
My prediction, Reggie Jackson will be on the floor.
I think they got to go with Zubats here.
I agree.
But Kleba, he helps. Finney-Smith does not make the rotation down on the X out. He went back to George. What's supposed to happen there is that Finney-Smith goes down to the corner, and then Kleba can X out to George. You can also say that Kleba was a little bit, and now, you know what it was? Kawhi Leonard with a no-look pass. He fooled Finney-Smith into thinking the pass was going to George, and that's how Morris was so open. Very subtle no-look pass there. That's what got him open. Beautiful work.
Okay, 9 seconds left. Mavericks inbounding the ball. What are you trying to do here? And is that successful?
Yeah, this is a situation where I think you want to get Luka on the move, going to the basket. We'll see if they come out with Zubats or not. Maybe you have some screening action on the weak side for Hardaway coming off a weak side screen, but that's probably dummy action, only there if it doesn't work for Luka. They're going to have all their shooters on the floor. Finney-Smith is out there, interestingly enough.
And I would not have Luka as the inbounder here. It looks like they're doing that. You have him so that you can get through more screens.
So this is interesting now. They're going with Kawhi on Luka. He's done a good job on him. There looks to be a little confusion. They'll get it into Luka. Way into the backcourt. They want him to get a running start. Hardaway's going to set the flat screen behind him to get him going to the rim. They get the switch. Luka attacks. No, they take the foul to give. We should have mentioned that, actually. And 3.7 left. That's always a bad play call by Rick Carlisle to have him go way into the backcourt knowing they had a foul to give. Because you got to go early and make them give that foul up.
Yeah, sometimes it can even be sort of a dummy action. All you're trying to do is get them to burn the foul.
Well, and this is a big problem now. 3.7. Luka Doncic, his number one attack is getting to the rim. It takes him a while to get there. He's a slow stop and start kind of player. He's not really that great just taking a jump shot quickly off the dribble. He's got to kind of set it up with a bunch of dribble moves. I don't know if 3.7, he may be hard-pressed to do that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a little harder. And certainly your play has to have some kind of a quick backdoor or a quick shot, but that's an error for Rick Carlisle to not be aware of that and say, hey, you got to go early, so they use that foul to give.
Yeah, because it was 9 seconds, so they burned more than half of the remaining clock getting that.
Yeah, that's something we should have been more on top of as well.
Some of the challenges, the notation isn't always great on the broadcast that we're using. But anyway, that's a totally fair point. And we'll see. I think you brought up an action potentially like something quick. I could see Seth Curry trying to pop out here, maybe something for somebody breaking to the basket. It's an interesting question.
Clippers are probably going to switch everything here right off the inbounds. And I might even consider, as soon as it gets into Luka, just sending the double team. All right, let's watch Luka. He's right at the top of the key. They're going to just try and inbound it to him with no screen. They do set the screen. He's at range against Jackson. Crosses over. He's got the step back for the win. What a shot.
Wow.
Unbelievable. I asked whether he would have enough time to get that off, and he did. Incredible shot, and the legend of Luka Doncic grows.
43 points, 17 rebounds, 13 assists, 4 of 10 from 3, including the game winner in a game that Kristaps Porzingis didn't play. And remember, Luka plus 11 in a game his team only won by 2. They were killed so badly in the minutes he sat in the second. It was just a massive, massive performance from him.
And I got to say, I question it for Doc Rivers to have Reggie Jackson on the floor there. Did they really not have anyone else at that point? I question switching rather than double teaming him there as well. Let's watch it here on the replay. Yeah, they just switched this screen. Great job to have Jackson's man set the screen. The coaching was good there to get the matchup they wanted. And Reggie Jackson also not having a good enough idea of the scouting report that Luka wants to get to that step back, not knowing how much time is on the clock. He didn't have time to go to his right and score. Luka's not going to shoot that on the move going to his right. You got to force him to his right hand with under 2 seconds remaining because he can't get all the way to the rim. But, I mean, let's not take away from the main story here. Just unbelievable from Luka Doncic. That step back jumper to win the game. And those who claimed he wasn't clutch, that the Mavs' clutch problems were his fault, and they had their foibles in this game. But Luka Doncic can erase those demons at least for one night.
Dunktown's going to be 3 hours. I don't care.
Thanks so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun. We'll keep you apprised. I think we'll definitely do the cast for the next game in this series. Game 5, pivotal Game 5. We'll see if Porzingis can play or not. But whenever that is on Tuesday, we'll see y'all then.